Hello! Welcome back. Happy morning to you all. And by morning, I mean afternoon, because it is very clearly this afternoon. Hope you all had a wonderful holiday weekend, for it is Tuesday. Let me just pop out chat really quick for you guys. Where is that button? Ah, there it is. I hope you all are having a wonderful Tuesday. Happy Friday. Oh, no, I changed it to Huff. Oh, I got it covered, no problemo. Thank you for the follow, B Proxy. Excuse me. Tim, hello. Birthday boy is somewhere. I think he's in the meeting right now. So he should be here momentarily. You're at work but can't complain. Hey, look, I'm at work too. Definitely also can't complain. This is, in fact, where hobby nerds congregate. And today, on Hobby Nerd Places, paint some cool Saurus Warriors from the new box set. I have been convinced of their awesomeness and prowess, so I will be painting them up for you guys on stream. I'm not sure exactly what colors we're going to be doing, but I don't think I'm going to be doing the standard blue. I think we're going to do something a little bit more interesting. Maybe something red. Be kind of cool. I'm kind of feeling it. Red with maybe a little bit of green. I like the idea. Slacking again. Nah, it's his birthday. He can. He's allowed to slack a little bit today. It's fine. How's everybody's weekend? Y'all have a good weekend? Good holiday weekend. Nice and long. Source, what's up? Paint Liquor, Tim, what's up? The Huff, Nicholas. I hope you are all having a wonderful day. I know I am. Today's a really good day. Been busy, but it's been a lot of fun. The weekend is never long enough. Fair enough. Songer, what's up? Worked on your Lumineth. That's awesome. Did you post photos in the Discord? Because I want to see. Gotta show the proof. Make sure you were working. Even got to play in the Forge. Yeah, Tim, you were showing pictures of you playing playing your Masters of the Universe game. That looked pretty cool. It's exciting. Well, I'm gonna start priming while we mess around with this stuff, because this is gonna take a minute to get all these guys primed. Hey, oh god. All right, we're getting there. Heck yeah, Songer. I'm all about it. That's already turned on. Yeah, just got print. Cool. I go black? Black brown. You know what? I think I'm going to go black brown, because I want to do some warmer colors under these guys anyways. Ooh, that's awesome. That sounds like a blast, Tim. I remember doing that very, very long time ago. I got an opportunity to try that out, and it was super fun. Quad Tomato, what's up? Hope you're having a good day. Oh. Welcome to the stream. I gotta get this thing on out of here. We got a little bit of a errant fit. No, I need something thinner than that to fit in there. We got this thing was all stuck in here. We got a I don't know if you guys could see that, but I definitely just sprayed a bunch of paint on my face. That's awesome. Gotta love these occupational hazards. Ugh. Alright. Let's see here. Ugh. Well, doesn't look like it was too bad. Didn't get any of my eyes, which is good. Stoney, how's it going? Twitch Summerlin, how's it going? I don't know what Jason's up to. He might be in meetings. He might be just enjoying his birthday. Who knows? I bet you he's gonna come in here with a birthday hat on. Be willing to put some money on it. But today, we are gonna paint some dinosaurs. Little mini dinosaurs. These models are freaking awesome, by the way. I don't know if you guys have gotten a chance to like see these in person yet, but these things are absolutely fantastic. Check these guys out. Got nice big old long tails and stuff. They're super cool. Look at this guy. The captain. This is rad. Quicksilver Gaming, you don't know how to paint your new dinos? Well, I don't either. We're going to figure it out today. I'm thinking about doing red dinos. I blue skinks, but I want my skinks and my Croxicore, or my skinks and my non-skinks to be, or skinks and Saurus rather, to be different colors. So we're starting with a nice, black-brown base coat. I like this. I like this color. This is great. Making sure to get all these nooks and crannies covered. I think what we'll do is when he comes back, when he's here, I'm gonna start singing happy birthday to him. It's gonna freak him out. What do you guys think? Good plan? I think it's a good plan. I think it will sufficiently freak him out. Dig it? I also dig it. Oop, that's wrong. I should jump out of a cake? That's a pretty large cake. I mean, maybe, Tim. Who knows? Okay. 2. Turn off the lights and hide in the corner. These are all great ideas. I like my idea of singing, though. I think it will sufficiently freak him out. Woo! Alright. Finally feeling a lot better, chat. It's been a rough couple of months. And by a couple of months, I definitely just mean a couple of weeks. But I am pretty much there. Just a little bit less coughing, and I think we'll be good. But it has calmed down significantly. How old is he? Like 1 million? Oh, no, he's not that old. Maybe like 2 million. But 1 million? Nah. I think he's 54. I think so. I believe that's the right number. Don't quote me on it. RoboCorp's The Slow is in fact right here.
No way.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jason. Happy birthday to you. Oh, happy birthday.
Thanks. That wasn't frightening at all. Damn, dude. Baby J, forever memorialized on my birthday.
Whew.
As he keels over.
That's the loudest my voice has gotten in like 3.5 weeks.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
I would have never known. The fact that now I'm deaf in the other ear.
Yeah. Look, I just thought I'd bring a little bit of fear and delight into your eyes at the same time.
A lot of fear. A lot of fear.
Oh, what you got over there? Little pretty little package.
Yeah, I think it's resin to turn one of the dreadnoughts into
Dreadnoughts.
Yeah, the Redemptor dreads into the new style that looks like the old style.
Oh,
the Mortis.
Oh, cool.
Not Mortis, whatever they call the old dreadnoughts. Thank you, everybody.
Everybody.
It's my birthday.
Was very excited that it's your birthday.
It's my
very
birthday.
Happy to see you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Well, the title of the stream doesn't even say it's my birthday. It's Happy Tuesday New Dino Action.
That might
with a side of Dante.
In my defense, you weren't here.
Oh, oh, I see.
You know. Don't worry, we can edit it to add in your
Okay,
birthday.
what is this garbage?
What, the las cannon?
No. What is this garbage? I paid money for this. And they sent it with the supports on it?
I would definitely hit that in some boiling water before you rip those things off.
God, I gotta work at it?
Yeah.
I'm gonna have a talk with these guys. Order this from Shapeways from now on. That sucks. When did they start doing this? They cured it with the supports on.
Ugh.
Over it. That's not a good birthday gift.
No.
Who does that?
Apparently they do.
Grrr.
You believe that though? That's so bizarre to me.
It's laziness on the part of the people doing the printing because they know it's very hard to be. And I like Matt and the guys at Pop Goes the Monkey, but Matt, if you're out there, take the sprue off your product.
It's just very disappointing.
Don't make me work at it as a customer.
Well,
right?
so not
if
even
you
just
can't,
that.
If you can't 3D print and charge the right price by cleaning it up and having it be the final product, don't 3D print.
It's not even just like making you do the work. It is like functionally harder for you to do it because it's been cured than it would be for them to just dump it in a thing of boiling water, pull it out, and just pull the supports
like
off.
Literally, if you pull the supports off when it's fresh and uncured, it doesn't even cause any problems.
It also should be fine as well, yeah.
It doesn't cause any problems.
Yeah. I agree with you. It
Rip to the printer's work. Did they even do any post-processing? I mean, they cured it, but they cured it on the piece. Again, I feel like I'm trashing them, and to some extent I am, because that's not the way you send a customer a product.
I mean,
because if a customer right now busts this off because it's fully cured, it's going to dimple all of your resin.
All sorts of
and most
ways,
people are going to think, oh, I'm just going to crack this open. It probably has something written someplace that I'm supposed to cure it or bust it, but I don't read that stuff. I know because I know how to 3D print, but a lot of customers probably won't understand that. So that's a shame. As a birthday present, you, Monument Hobbies, I think you should send me a test bottle of the Can't Believe It's Not Oil medium. No. That's not how birthdays work. I mean, that's how your birthday would work.
Will I be able to get some
okay, so
birthday?
Paint Liquor's got it right. Like, for me, pulling out the resin from the printer and then taking the supports off is really cool. I don't know what tactile, putting on the rubber gloves and then going.
It is satisfying.
Oh my god, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. I love that 50 million supports prying off and a piece being revealed. I love it. Right? No, a lot of printers have problems because you're always trying to make up for the process by speeding it up. And if you have to speed it up, the places to chintz and to gain time are to not take the supports off. That makes it a little bit easier to put it in the cleaning solution, the IPA, and clean it and all that stuff, because you don't have little delicate things necessarily banging around each other. They have the protective cage of the supports. But the problem is they don't realize they're wasting way more material in their IPA because now they're cleaning supports, and the supports for some models are a huge amount of resin compared to the model itself.
Yep.
Right?
It's almost
like the supports
as much,
are sometimes more resin
Yeah.
than the piece you printed. And so you're cleaning more resin than you need to, which is a waste. You're curing more resin than you need to, which is also a waste, although, you're just going to throw it away anyway. But, yeah, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of having to do that for them. So, won't do it. I'll order it from Shapeways next time. You always remove the supports before curing unless a piece might warp or bend during curing. Yeah, I mean, but I never remove it. I never care. I take the supports off and I cure the piece.
Well, the thing is, you can always
pop the supports off, then I wash it, then I cure it. Every single time, no problem. It's like removing Velcro, same feel. Kinda, except it feels like creation. It feels like revealing the inside of the egg, Look at this thing I have. You clean your prints before removing the supports, but cure after removing. Yeah, that's just a waste of your IPA or whatever you use to clean. You're dirtying your IPA by 200%, right? So you're losing half of the ability for your cleaning solution to do its job. So
if not even more, because a lot of that gunk is going to collect in between those channels where the supports are.
Oh yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. You won't get
more.
nearly any. You would get easily double the effectiveness of your IPA in your cleaning station by taking the supports off first. Are the wings on that model what comes with the sculpt? Yes. No. Maybe.
Nope.
No, these are the wings off of Yndrasta, the Celestial Spear from Age of Sigmar.
It's from the Dominion starter, I believe it's called.
Yeah, from the. I think you can buy her by herself now. But Stormcast Eternal Yndrasta, right? Oh, we actually have her. These one. Yndrasta. So I had multiple Yndrastas from Dominion box sets, so we took Yndrasta's wings and put them on Dante. That's my second go round painting these wings. We did them white this time because Blood Angels. I have a love-hate relationship with painting wings. I always love the idea, and I hate the process. It's pretty much.
Not the best process in the world.
Well, it's always good until the details. And then you
Yep.
realize you have to outline 50 million wings and create all of the lines and the feathers and stuff if they're natural.
It's just time consuming. Woo! Jolie Jolie, Yoke TX, Winnie the Daddy. Hello, welcome to the stream. Guards Tony, how's it going?
Robocarp says, do they even do any post-process? Oh, no. But you also said, do you have any advice for those models you have from 20 years ago? It's all put together with super glue. I think somebody else mentioned put them in the freezer.
Yep.
Super glue will become brittle under extreme cold. Just be careful. I think a lot of the models in there, the metal ones you won't have any problem with at all, but the plastic ones, that old GW plastic, he has an old Space Marine Battle Force box set, like the old Ultramarine Battle Force.
Yeah.
And he's talking about picking it all apart, stripping it, and redoing the whole thing.
Oh,
some great old models in there, just fantastic, right?
Some of those old models are really good.
The mucho nostalgia in that box for me because I painted all of those. The old apothecary model that's in there, all that stuff is great. Stony, you just use your wash and cure machines for your prints. Of course you do, but they still utilize IPA in them, right? Unless you're using water washable resin. We have wash and cure stations here too. Your IPA will go bad twice as fast if you leave the supports, if not quicker. Where you can reuse the IPA quite a bit if you remove the supports. So our process for cleaning prints, let's say this was a print, right? And it came out, I would immediately take it, I lay it on a bunch of, a tray, a lunch tray that I have. I take it out, I lay it down on the lunch tray, get them all pried off of the build plate on the lunch tray filled with paper towels. That soaks up some resin. Then I take our supports off. So I'll take the model, crack the supports off, right? Chuck those. And then I'll spray each one over another station with fresh paper towel in it. And we've got a squirt bottle with IPA, right? The kind of squirt bottle that you just missed with. And you put it on like the medium pressure one. Not the thing you squirt your cat with, but the next twist over from that.
Not the one you squirt your cat with.
Because you turn it to the straight line laser beam spray when you want to spray your cat.
That's hilarious.
Right? And, well, when you're training your kittens, when they get into things you don't want, you just squirt them with a water bottle.
That's so funny.
Seriously, they hate it, so they won't do it anymore. But you turn it into the medium mist, and you sit here and you mist them real quick, and then you lay them down to where they'll drip on their drip face like that onto paper towels. So you've got that IPA taking the stuff off, and I'll do that, and I'll let them sit for about 5 minutes, and then I'll put them into the wash and cure station in IPA and wash it that way. And so, I wind up hitting them manually with the IPA, then putting them in the cleaning station. And my cleaning station IPA lasts a long, long time because of that. And then, of course, you cure them. Mo, what's happening, man?
Welcome.
Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend. If you're here in the States and you celebrated Memorial Day or took some time off during Memorial Day, hope you had a wonderful time. Hopefully you have to take a breather.
It was like a very refreshing weekend.
Good.
Yeah. Not that I needed a lot of refreshing, but it was refreshing. Life is generally pretty good around here.
Good.
So
it's not like it's super hectic, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's funny because
we're not in a super high stress environment here.
I was in the shower this morning. I was like, "Man, it's Tuesday. I gotta go back to work." And I was
Darn.
like, "This is actually kind of dope." Like,
oh darn!
Cool. I gotta go back to work today. That's cool.
Oh darn! All right. I haven't done even a slight bit of painting since last we spoke. There was part of me that was like, oh yeah, during the weekend I'll do some painting. Maybe not.
Saturday was pretty busy.
Maybe not. I had an idea to do because I saw somebody do a Sebastian Carvalho's, or whatever his name is. He's one of the Stormcast Eternals, and he had the his mace or whatever, and they had taken and done like electrical lightning bolts, kind of like Thor when he does his freaking hero leap and comes down and the lightning is like, lifting him off the ground almost.
Yeah.
And so I was really thinking that would be bitchin' to do on here.
I think it would add a lot of really nice color to the model as well.
It'd give us that electric blue that I could bring over and like, it could at least, I know it could arc to like the wings, various points on the wings if I did it that way. Right? And it could probably arc over to maybe onto his knee.
The question is, how much of that reflection do you want to put in the armor?
I mean, I would have fun with it. I think it could be cool.
Yeah.
The real question is, how much time do I want to spend on this guy beyond what I've already done?
That is the main question.
Right? Because making the lightning bolts is the hardest part of that.
Yes.
Well,
you could say that model is basically done. Right now.
By far. Yeah, I don't have much else that I have to do. Paint the base, paint the grip on the axe.
Yeah.
Do the details on the axe and highlight the gold on one more pass, and we're pretty close to done. A couple of other things, the jetpack OSL and things like that I got to do.
I mean, how done do you feel like you want to be with the model?
I don't know. I'm really enjoying him, and I guess it's like, how far do we want to take him, right? Because the rest of the army is pretty good, but it is, it goes together pretty quick.
Yeah. I mean, he's a focal point of the army, so I think it's okay having a model that has a significant amount of time put in it in the army.
Yeah.
I don't think that's a problem.
Yeah.
Because of all the models that you have in your army, that's probably one of the ones that you would want to have look really nice.
Yeah.
But if it were me, well, it's different, because like for me, I would want to have the army on the table relatively quickly.
I don't care about that.
Then I would spend more time on them. If you're not like over it, you're not like I'm ready to move on to the next project, I'd keep working on them. And I do think that the lightning would look cool. Here, dude, what's up? Took last week off. Nice. Oregon Coast. Heck yeah. Man, I would love to do that trip at some point. The seafood down there is real good. And I have not ever been to the Oregon coast and spent any time there, which is funny because I used to live in Washington.
He says I murdered some crab, salmon, and scallops.
Yum. I'd be all about the clam chowder. I am a big clam chowder boy. Burnt red. Here we go. Here we go, check. Here we go. We're doing red dinos. For all the Saurus. Feeling it.
Now, I gotta paint more before I make that decision anyway. Because I'd have to paint everything to the point of being nearly done. Pretty much no matter what. What, where to get tools, paints, seam fillers, etc.? Are you joking?
Hi, we're Monument Hobbies.
Robo, are you joking? I mean, exclamation point store, best place in the world. Just saying. Just saying.
Mose has got it. Moe's nose.
Just Robo already said he's trolling us.
Nose.
Freaking guy. Freaking guy. Hey, you know anybody that sells some good paints?
Yeah. Looking for a new paint line.
You know, might wanna get some paints and some things to do this this little hobby of ours.
Oh, Stony. That is, ooh. That's brutal. See what Stony just put in the chat?
I don't know if I want to.
No, I don't think you do.
I looked at your store, but I couldn't find any brushes. Tony, you weren't quick enough. They already all sold out. They already all sold out.
I guess we know whose order to lose. We get it from a Stony Yodeler. Wait, and we said nice things about your model last month. What the heck?
Never again.
Never again.
Never again for that guy. Never again.
Quicksilver Gaming, Magnus was wrong. He was wrong. He was bad. He was being a bad boy. I know this is uncharacteristic for me, but I am currently painting heavily order models. So I must toe the line.
Holy fence hopper, this guy.
Whoa, 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 whoa. I gotta respect the authority
of fence hopping.
Well, it's also your
Chat,
birthday.
how can you trust this guy? He's
it's
like
your
good
birthday.
guys, then bad guys.
Hey, it's your birthday today.
Wait a minute.
Chaos can take
you
a
blaming me now for your fence jumping?
I mean, yeah, sure. It works. Hey, the shoe fits. I'm just saying.
Dang, chat. I don't know about this.
Wait, why are you not happy? I'm singing the praises of justice and good in the universe.
So I've dealt with chaos for a while. And I know that this is exactly what a follower of chaos would do. Is say, no, I have changed my ways.
But I have changed my ways.
Chat. Do we believe him? I already know my answer.
Well, your answer is going to be the same regardless. We know where your allegiances lie.
Mo, thank you, my friend. It's my birthday. I'm like 32 years old.
I was going to say, you didn't look a day over 28.
See?
Yeah.
See? Good to be beautiful.
Or the beautiful one. Not sure how I got the smarts in this trade-off.
Count backwards after 40. Wait a minute. You have to hit 40 to count backwards after 40. Thank you very much, sir. I'm still enjoying my roaring 30s.
Friend. Roaring 30s never end. You go from 39 right back down to 30. That's how math works.
38, 39, 30, 31,
Yep.
32. I'm down.
Like me.
Actually, I'm not. I've never been one to care about my age.
No. Age just doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I
Just a number.
you know, it's weird, and this is always a conversation that's a little difficult to have, I guess. But at a very young age, I came to grips with the fact that, you know, you're only here for a little time, and you know, that's okay. If you come to grips with that and accept it, then you just try to milk life for everything you can every day. And everybody has their own definition of what that means. Some people are going to want to go and travel a bunch, and, you know, some people are going to want to, you know, stay at home and play video games or whatever it is to you that's important, right? I don't care. I'm not trying to tell you what to do, right? Just do it with vigor. Make sure you grab life by the horns, ride it like you stole it, and age stops being an issue.
It's true. It's very true.
I feel like if there's ever a day that you feel as if life were torn from you today, would you be ashamed because you didn't do something? Or would you have regrets if death came and tapped you on the shoulder right this minute? How would you respond? Would you ball up in fear and say, no, it can't possibly be my time, I have so much left to do, I have so many regrets? Then you need to reevaluate what you're doing. You know?
I think, for me, I would have regrets. But then I would think to myself, these are the decisions that I made, and I'm not sure that I'm upset with any of the decisions that I made. So while I may have wanted to do some things that I didn't get around to, I'm still happy with the decisions that I made during that.
Yeah, and I don't think there's any problem with that.
Yeah. I think it is okay to have regrets in your life. I think it's okay.
I don't.
You don't think so?
I mean, we would have to understand the definition of regret and how you're using that.
Sure.
I think that regrets are like those unpaid bills. You let them weigh on you heavily because you regret, and they become part of who you are, and you shouldn't ever let that happen.
Yes. And I view regrets very differently, right? Because I review regrets as like, this is something that I wish that I did before.
Like recognition of stupid things you've done.
That's
or
what I'm talking
stupid
about.
things you didn't do.
Yeah.
I don't consider to be regret. I think that that's just recognition.
Okay. I can agree with that.
I think regret is when you recognize what you've done and you never reconcile.
Yes.
What you've done. Right? As long as you can go through and get some reconciliation, then there is no more regret. There's just an understanding that, yeah, I screwed that up. I didn't repeat it.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, I think that's part of just like me as a person. I try not to. I try to be objective about the things that I do in my life, and acknowledge the things that I do poorly, and try and adjust. Because I spend a lot of time doing stupid stuff, and
so say we all.
Yeah.
Doko, what's going on, man? Annual check-in. Good to see ya.
I do need to get a cat, though. I can't die until I get a cat. This is happening very soon.
Mm-hmm.
Like, within the next couple of months, I will have a cat.
See, and that's the thing, right? Is that if you feel like there's something you would regret not having done, get busy doing it.
I'm in the process of doing it.
Get busy doing it.
I gotta figure out all the logistics before I go actually do it.
No regrets.
But I have wanted a cat for so long, and I'm finally in a place where I can do so, financially and living situation wise, and I am gonna do it because I think cats are awesome. Oh, I should show you my new water bottle. It's amazing. I don't know if you've seen it.
Stoney says, I have plenty of regrets, but I wouldn't change your past actions and decisions because you wouldn't be where you are now. Then they're no longer regrets. My definition of regret is that you think that your life would be different had you just not done those things. Right? That's regrets. You can't live your life that way, right? I mean, you can. Seems horrible. You're kind of like where you're at, so you got to deal with here and now, and change here and now. You're not going to change yesterday. It's like a therapy Thursday on a Tuesday, man.
Yeah, it's true. When I'm done with this, I'm going to get my water bottle so I can show you. Because I got my new water bottle. Very excited about this, chat. Because I totally ruined my water bottle when I first got here.
Left it in his car.
Left it in the car, and it no longer maintained the shape that it was before.
Turns out Arizona heat.
Yeah.
Not your friend.
So I had to spend $30 on a new water bottle. Made me a little sad. But I got the opportunity.
I mean, you know they make cheaper water bottles.
I really like these water bottles. I've bought 4 of them. And I really, truly enjoy them.
I've bought 4 of them.
Well, to be fair, one of them was a gift. I lost my first one. And my second one I'm retiring because I destroyed it.
You melted it. It's like a Weeble Wobble.
It is melted.
It doesn't sit straight on the table because it melted really weird.
Yeah. So it literally like wobbles when you set it down on the table. Bruce Payne Gaming, you have 5 cats. You are awesome.
You're very patient. I know something about you. Your ex put her water bottle in the dishwasher and it shrank it to like half size. What? What was it made out of? Curious minds want to know. Was it cotton? Yeah, Shrinky Dinks. Remember Shrinky Dinks? Holy hell. Do they still make those things?
Oh, I don't even know. Are you gonna need the airbrush after I'm done?
Nah.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Make sure I will shut it off when I'm done.
I don't think I'm doing anything that needs any airbrushing today.
Putting on some good old base coats. Get some highlight colors going on.
You remember Shrinky Dinks? I think you put them in the oven, right? Like they had them where you could like paint things on them. And then you put them in the oven and they shrink down. Kind of weird. Cats are definitely a love-hate for me. I like a cat when the cat is, you know, being like a dog. And I hate the cat when the cat is being like a cat. So I just get dogs.
Sounds like you just want dogs.
Yeah. It's like, okay, well, problem solved. Just buy a dog.
Yeah. Like, this seems like a really solvable problem.
Yeah.
just get the dog.
It just took a little bit of a harsh sit down with myself to come to the conclusion that, well,
you've
then
had
you
cats
get a
before,
dog.
Right? Or a cat before?
What's that?
You've had a cat before, right?
Oh, yeah. Yep. There have been times in my life where cats have wound up in my house. Not most of the time, not to my decision making. Matter of fact, I would have to admit that I don't think once in my life there has ever been a time where I've had a cat that I decided to have a cat. I think that the cat having was always forced upon me.
Well, regardless, I think you're in a good position with Cora right now.
So yeah, Cora was forced upon me too.
Yes, but that worked out pretty good.
It worked out pretty good.
Yeah.
Jen gets to live. The dog gets to live. Everybody's happy.
Yep. You like the dog a lot.
I do kind of like the dog a lot.
Talk about her a lot, so.
I love the dog. She drives me bananas, but I love her.
I think that's just dogs.
I showed Jen a video on my phone the other day. It was like a Instagram reel or whatever they call them. And it had somebody scolding their pit for eating their shoe. And this pit bull was like in the kitchen by the kitchen cabinets, and they know, right? Like the other day we came home and she had done her what we call the vengeance pee. We had left her at home in the middle of the day on the weekend to go run some errands, and when we got back she had like peed, even though she didn't need to pee. She found a way to force a pee just to piss us off.
Yep.
No pun intended. But the and she knew it. Like we walked in the door and she was like head down, ears back. You know.
Like I did a thing that I kind of regret.
And you can't really be mad at her too long. It's just a pain, right? It's like, but this video was exactly that. It was like this pit bull, and mom was smacking the shoe on the floor saying, no, bad. And then eventually he gets just so sad, and so she starts rubbing his cheek. That's a bad dog, you know, and you just can't. You like go from angry to love within like, you know, the speed of light.
It's true.
They're just too dang cute. Cats, on the other hand, yeah. Do they make glue? Is there a good glue you can make from cats?
What? What the heck? No. We don't want to make glue out of cats. What?
I think
that's unacceptable.
I think that you threaten your animals with, I will turn you to glue.
Oh, no.
But with cats, they're the only ones you mean it with.
What?
Make violin strings out of cat gut. There you go.
Oh my god, you guys are horrible.
The first problem in your logic is that you own a cat. You never own anything, right? Except for inanimate objects, and even those are flirting. Other living creatures, you never own them. They just entertain the ability to hang out together, right? Erebus. I'm about to say thank you for following, Erebus. That feels bad.
Bruce, I have been told much the same thing. If you get a cat, just get a second, just so that they can be social with one another.
Pretty much.
That is a thing I have heard more than one time.
Unless you just get one cat that thinks it's a dog. I have friends over time who have had cats who really do believe they're dogs. And they just act like dogs, you know? We've had people in the Discord pop in with like their cats and be like, my cat follows me everywhere, it's more like a dog. And I'm like, I can handle that.
Yeah, it's like, I would love that. That'd be great.
I can handle that.
My thing is, I think that would drive me nuts.
Oh.
To some extent.
Well, yeah, because you're not looking for a dog.
Right.
Your cats own you, hipster Gumby. Good old Gabe. How many cats do you have, Gabe?
Three. Getting 2 cats would be a little bit more pricey, because I think I have to pay like $40 a month per cat for rent, which is not too bad. But it is annoying.
I'd have bad when they claw your furniture up.
Yeah, that I'm less excited about.
Then it's about $80 too much. I think my thing is I always like other people's cats. Like going and hanging out with a friend that has cats, fun. Yeah. Having your own cats, not so fun. I've always been a dog person, but I also have always had to admit, most times in my life, that my life wasn't real conducive for having dogs. Because they require a lot of attention. There have been a lot of times in my life where I've been traveling a lot, and so having a dog didn't work. I think we talked about it like last week or the week before. It always breaks my heart to have to leave your dog in the kennel.
Yep. And that's the other thing I have to consider too, because like I go to shows. Like if I get a cat in the next month or two, like I'm gonna be gone for a good chunk of the beginning and end of August. I'm not sure that I want to like put a fresh animal through that. Like have them have a new home and then just be gone. So I might have to.
Oh yeah, definitely wait until you're done traveling for the year.
Yeah. Because I refuse to do that to a new animal. It is not fair to them. They're gonna be weirded enough being in a new environment.
Unless you can find one whose name is Spike, who only has like one ear, then they don't give a damn.
Yeah.
Spike won't care if you leave. You'll come back, the place will be in shambles. Spike's been partying.
Partying hard.
Can't get a cat, you have nobody to leave a cat with. Dog goes to your sister's house, yeah. Yeah, if you travel and you have a place to drop a dog, that's great. I mean, as long as they're happy there.
On the bright side, I could probably have somebody like
go in and check up on him.
Yeah. I live close enough to the office that it's like not a huge imposition to be like, hey, can you drop in and give my cat a little bit of love and some food?
Well, and not to volunteer them, but Carter and William love cats, so.
Oh. Volunteered indeed.
William likes animals. Just get a tarantula.
Nope.
Not a chance.
No, sir. That is not happening.
Not really a pet.
Nope.
Not a lot of affection from those.
So, bugs in general?
Not your thing?
No. Not even remotely. I have a phobia of bugs. Spiders as well. Do not even joke with me about it because I will be incredibly upset if it happens. That is like one of the few things that you could ever do to me that would like jeopardize a friendship.
Is what like
in a serious way?
Bring like a spider?
Yeah, like screw with me when it comes to like bugs and stuff. Like it seriously wigs me out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Good to know. I usually don't take advantage of people's phobias. That's very rude.
Yes.
And inconsiderate, uncaring.
Yep. Hasn't happened yet. I haven't had to have the conversation of, so we're not friends anymore.
Ha!
I no longer want to see your face. Haven't had that conversation with somebody yet. Because, like you said, friends don't really take advantage of other friends' phobias like that.
I have had friends that had severe arachnophobia, and like somebody would get like a rubber spider, and tie it above the door.
Yep.
Come into your apartment, rubber spider drops down.
Like, I'm not gonna lie, the thought of that terrifies me.
Begin freak out now, kind of a thing.
Yeah. The thought of that, like, genuinely terrifies me. And I would hate for somebody who I thought of as a friend to do that to me. Because if they're my friend, they should know that affects me in such a serious way. And that they are not my friend if they do that. Yeah. Take it seriously, folks.
If I ever do that to you,
yeah,
understand that the only reason I would do that is as an intervention, right? To toughen you up.
I mean, I can handle myself. I am adjusted enough to be able to do that. But I am not a fan of bugs.
Yeah, I there are some bugs that I can't stand. Cockroaches, things like that.
Centipedes freak me out.
What's that?
Centipedes really freak me out.
Well, centipedes should freak you out. They are not your friends.
Yeah.
So I'll give you
cockroaches.
I'll give you a quick story. When I was living in Colorado, when I decided to go off the road, right? Because I'd been living on the road doing the motorcycle thing, and when I made the decision to not travel anymore, I had a big motorhome, and I was like, it's too much space. Which is funny if you think about it, because it was like
tiny.
Yeah. Well, it was a big motorhome, but if it was 350 square foot, I'd be surprised. So I had this motorhome that I was living in, and so I was like, nah, I want to get rid of the motorhome. It's too big. So I went in and started looking for Airstreams. I wanted like a light trailer so I could, size down the size truck I had to pull the trailer with and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I wanted to find like an Airstream or something like that. And I found something similar to an Airstream, aluminum frame, bumper pole travel trailer from like the 60s or early 70s. And so it was down here in Arizona when I was living in Colorado. So I drove down with my truck, hooked it up, drove it back to Colorado. And when I got to Colorado, I pulled the motorhome out, put the motorhome up for sale, pulled this trailer in, cleaned it out, started living in this trailer. So I had if you've never been here before, I had a big, like 3,500 square foot or 3,000 square foot building, huge bay doors on it where I built motorcycles and had my metal shop. And in one half of it, I kept the place where I lived, which was a trailer or a motorhome. And so I pulled the trailer in, set it all up, got it all going. And the second day after the trailer had been parked in the building and I had been cleaning it up and everything, I go around the back because in the stall behind where I would park the trailer or the motorhome was my water system. I had a big, huge potable water container in the back, and I had a pump, and I had to go to town and fill a big potable water container up with water, drive it on a trailer. I had a trailer with a water thing on it, drive it back to the house, and then hook up this Honda transfer pump and pump all of the water into my building, into a big storage container in my building that had a system that provided water pressure in the building.
Okay.
And so back there was that. And so in between the bumper and the water thing was the biggest damn centipede I have ever seen in my life. Like comical big. Like the kind that you look at and you're like, you know what? This is what they write horror stories about. It was dead. Or because it was so cold in Colorado, it was like frigid to the point where whatever, right?
Yeah.
But it was looped around. It was this big. I can't screw with you. It was about this big from head, curled, looped like a cinnamon roll. Like if you would have, I didn't reach down to try to do anything with it. But its mandibles on the little segmented head, right, were like as big as a 50-cent piece. Like its head and the mandibles and everything were like probably that big. It was ridiculous. And I thought it was a snake at first, like a little coiled up snake, and then I looked and it had billions of legs. Well, not billions, it's a centipede. So it had big, heavy segments and big feet and mandibles out the front. And I was like, oh my God. So I was like worried they were in the trailer. I'm like, if there's one out here, you know, they're not from Colorado, they're from Arizona. This is not good. I was freaked out for weeks. Weeks.
Was it just the one?
I never saw another one. I never saw another. Yeah, exactly. Starship Troopers is an advanced scout. I was like, no, make it go away. This is horrible. It was a thing of nightmares.
I remember...
They aren't the kind of bugs you see very often. They're the kind that are usually in books and on TV shows. You don't have to think about them.
Yeah.
Right? So when you see one, you're like, yeah, I'm not really into that.
Especially big ones like that.
Tim, they're not pet centipedes. You've had centipedes that you've kept in cages. They're not pets. You can't call a centipede and a tarantula a pet. They're totally different than dogs and cats. Dogs and cats are pets. Fish,
borderline.
I don't even think fish are technically pets. Fish are just things you capture and put in a cage, and you get some pleasure out of, right? Because I think they're more like lizards and all that stuff. Tarantulas, but definitely bugs, not pets. Bugs are just things you've caught and kept in a cage. They creep you out. You know they're helpful bugs because they hunt other bugs, but still, please stay out of my house. Yep. Well, like, I respect spiders that way, right? Spiders kill a lot of the flying things that you hate, mosquitoes and all that stuff. So I try not to, like, just immediately murder spiders. You know, if you can take it outside, have it build a web outside, it's much better for you and everything around. But, you know, still, yeah, I'm not a big fan of sharing my living space with bugs of any type.
It's part of the reason why I want to get a cat. Cats are good at killing bugs.
Sometimes.
Other times they just don't care.
Other times you get the lazy ones.
Yeah.
There was a time where, like, Jen and I were hoping that when we had the rat problem in the house, we were like, oh my gosh, having a dog will be great. Nope. It turns out rodents do not care about the smell of dogs. Cats, they do. Dogs are not natural predators. Even though you have ratting dogs. The science, I think, has proven that rodents do not care about the smell of dogs. They don't just immediately vacate the premises, whereas if you have cats, they typically don't hang out.
Thank you for the follow, Kyle. Maybe? Question mark? And hello, Gosu. Hello, welcome to the chat. Happy Tuesday to you. Hope you had a good holiday weekend. Or good weekend in general, if you were not partaking of the holiday bit.
Hipster Gumby says, are snakes pets? Also a no. Creatures you have captured. You take your pet snake for a walk? People are going to get mad at me. They're like, my pets are whatever I want my pets to be. And you are right. So don't take the words of this crazy old man. I actually, there was a time where I was going to buy off of a friend of mine a Burmese python, a licensed Burmese python, because he was going to have kids. And they did have kids, and he had convinced his wife to let him keep the Burmese, and he built a cage that was super strong cage to keep the Burmese in, and all that. It was good. But the kids, when they got to crawling age, were crawling around, and for some reason in this amazing cage he had built, he had the heat controller was down at like outlet height.
Oh no.
Yeah, the kid, you can see where this is going. The kids crawled around and turned the heat up.
Hey, somebody likes
playing with the knob, turned the heat up and cooked the snake when nobody was paying attention. So he had this lovely, expensive snake. And it's weird, right? Because the snake, you had a feeling the snake was intelligent enough to understand its environment and that it was cared for. Right?
Yeah.
But it was still a snake. Snake's gonna snake.
Snake is gonna snake. You're correct.
Steven Sways. I am getting on in years, and your eyesight is going bad for up close. I use those jeweler's lenses to good effect, but also reading glasses. Do you use prescription lenses? These are just readers. Yeah. And Steven Swayze, you make a really good comment, because I've always had 20/20 vision, and this is the first time. And it was funny because Jen, who's answering in chat there, Monument Jentastic, that's my partner, and she, early on in the stream, or maybe not early, it's been probably like 4 years ago now. We've been streaming for 6 or 7. So like 4 or 5 years ago now, Jen used readers when I first was getting her into painting. She was learning how to paint, and she bought some readers and put them on. And one day I was making fun of her. And, I just was painting like I always had without glasses. And I was making fun of her. I go, oh, look, I'm Jen. I need my glasses to... Ooh. And immediately I was like, oh,
I need some of these.
Oh, these are good. Like, oh, these are good. Because I didn't even realize that the details weren't as crisp as they used to be, because I think you just get used to it, obviously. And so then I put these on, and I was like, oh, these are good. But I've never changed them, and I don't know what this probably rubbed off. Oh, no, these are 1.5s.
I mean, a little bit of magnification is pretty good for you, regardless of how good your eyesight is.
Right, these are 1.5s. They're just off the rack at the drugstore.
Yeah,
right?
I mean, my buddy's an optometrist, and he's like, because I was having some eye issues a little while back. It was just like headaches and stuff, but it wasn't anything sinister, like a problem. He's like, I mean, I can make you a prescription for some a little bit of enhancement, so you can get not have quite as bad eye strain, because I was having a lot of eye strain at the time. And he was like, but you really don't need it, but I mean, it will help. So it's like a little bit of magnification isn't going to hurt you, and it will just help you see better, and as long as you aren't weirded out by wearing glasses for some reason.
I just never worn them, so for me it was just getting used to it, right?
Yeah.
And being able to have something on my nose. The problem for me is that I look past the readers at the palette, right? Because the readers, I can't focus on the palette.
Yeah.
Things that are about, further than the focal length of the lens of the glasses really screws with me. So that's the only thing I still have not gotten used to, because I only wear them on stream. I never use them for anything else. I never use glasses for anything else, so it makes it a problem for me. It gives me a little bit of a, I won't say headache, but it feels like it could develop into a headache if I look through them at, other distances. Which I understand I'm not supposed to do, so. They're not fud at. But yeah, magnifiers of some type are always great for doing stuff that's up close. I mean, I've known people that have used magnifiers that had perfect eyesight. I never did. Growing up, I never paid attention to that kind of stuff.
Pharaoh, thank you for the follow. Welcome.
Immunosuppressant eye drops for your eyes? Does it cut strain? I don't understand. Gozu, thank you. Those wings are giving you a nerd chub. I know he's not supposed to have them, right? Like, Dante doesn't have wings, but all the other relevant Blood Angels characters do. So I'm like, well, why doesn't he?
Only fair.
He is the quintessential Blood Angel, so we gave him wings, and we did the purple iridescence and magenta and jade and all that through the white wings, which I think helps, plus the warm yellow around the backpack glow of all the gold armor. So I think it really gives a neat drama to the model. The scale of the model becomes more impressive, too, because without the wings, he's just a dude.
Yeah.
You give him wings, and now all of a sudden, at the center of your army, you have a guy that means something. So I'm definitely a fan. Quicksilver, right? It just looks correct. It looks like it's supposed to be this way. Now, we changed the backpack to be the Heresy era backpack because the other one, the wings wouldn't have fit. It had the bigger shoulder pods on it. The one that was for the Primaris, I don't think it would have worked as well. So the Heresy backpack, I'm using all of the Heresy armor for my 2K of Blood Angels, right? So I'm using these Heresy era Mark, whatever they are, Mark 3 jump pack, Mark 4 jump packs, or whatever they are.
Yosu's asking how you did the red. And thank you for the follow, Bruce Payne.
It is mainly Bold Pyro Red, yeah. There's a video on our YouTube, but it starts with Payne's Gray as the base, and then Dark Plum, then Bold Pyro Red, and then I start adding Orange and Warm Flesh to Bold Pyro Red to get the highlights. Good example. Guy that's just the base reds done. Right. So it's the Payne's Gray, which is that bluish gray shadow color, with the Dark Plum over that, which gives you kind of a neat, kind of pseudo purple, deep violet color going on. And then the Bold Pyro Red gives you the bulk of what you see as red on the model. And then the hot spots are where I start adding in orange and warm flesh. So you can see this halo of orange and Bold Pyro Red right there. And then above it is the kind of eclectic salmon color, we called it, right? Where you add in the warm flesh to the red-orange mix, and you get that. And so it gives it a really natural progression and a really good way to show, like, dirty, red metal. And then you just outline your edges in that same kind of salmon color. And that's what turns into these. Just then pale pink as your highlight. That's the only thing this model's missing is the pale pink highlight. And of course all the gold. I'm doing all the guys with the old marks of armor, 2 and 3 helmets.
Ooh, that yellow looks great.
The assault guys. And then the gold trim all starts with the dark yellow green. Should look pretty good. Got the true scale Terminators going. And then the Death Company is done in the using the dark plum as the shadow color, right? So you can see the kind of reddish warmth in the shadows on the sole of his foot and stuff. That's the dark plum. And then the Payne's Gray is the basis for the black armor. So I just flipped the colors that I used as the base for the red to do the black armor. And we gave them even older, like, the original Mark 1 or 2 fan jump packs. They're Death Company. They're going to die, so give them the crap that nobody cares about. Fun little army. It may never get finished, but it's been fun. You've been itching to paint some loyalists? Are your Iron Warriors fully done? Like, finished and done? Didn't you just finish a tank? I feel like you just finished your Kratos or something like that.
I have a lot of tanks. I'm not sure if I should keep them for a different army or if I should just paint them up. Because I really like the tanks and the way the tanks look in this game.
Yeah.
30k tanks are great looking.
For 30k, they're great.
I am definitely a fan. And they make a crap load of them. Seems like they keep on releasing one every couple of months.
Well, they're bringing all the Forge World ones into plastic.
Yeah.
So all the latest ones that you've seen are all Forge World stuff. Reflect his face back in here. We'll just do kind of a real quick wiggly line. Do we have a date in mind for the challenge judge stream? That's up to this guy. He's working with Gabe to figure out the presentation and all that.
That is going to be Thursday.
Thursday. You heard it here first, folks.
Still figuring out what we're going to do for June, but I will know by the time that we announce the winners for this month.
I mean, Thursday is June 1st, so that's a perfect day.
Yep. Going to all come down together. Yeah, we're sprucing things up around here, Stoney. We're sprucing it up. You know what? After this project, I might take a minute to paint one of those tanks. That sounds fun. I haven't painted a tank.
Doing a vehicle would be fun.
Yeah, I haven't done a vehicle in a while. In a freaking long time.
I have not done a vehicle around here in a while.
Question is, which one to do? Ooh, I could do one of the whirlwinds. I forgot what they're called. The Scorpion? Because I have those cool Sons of Horus Scorpius. Thank you. I could do, because I have those cool Rhino doors, the Sons of Horus Rhinos doors that I picked up.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that'd be fun.
Painting busts as a challenge. Awesome, Tim. Great. Just between the two of you, that's great.
That's cool.
Love to hear it. Personal challenges are great ways to push your painting outside the norm.
I also think I'm pretty close to wanting to do another, like, really fancy schmancy paint. I'm feeling the urge to get my paint on.
I'm doing it right now.
Yes, yes, you are.
I can't leave well enough alone. I'm like, here, let's paint a fast Dante. And in
like
one day, I held up for
back
that. For exactly one day, it felt like I was going to live up to that whole thing.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
And then I was like, wow, this model's cool.
Yep.
So maybe we make it cooler. I'm really enjoying Dante, if you can't tell. But we did talk about it around here. I think I've been enjoying every model I've been painting, which is awesome for me.
That's a great place to be. Alright. Airbrush has been successfully cleaned. Needed a little bit of love. But it has since received said love. We can go back to painting up some dinosaurs.
June isn't limited palette. You know, May's wasn't limited, but your dumbass decided to do an ATST, so it actually became a limited palette. I mean, you didn't have to. You could have painted anything. Just because it's an ATST and it's usually gray on gray on gray, doesn't mean you got to follow the rules.
Stoney, I've got some ideas. I wanted to talk with Jason to see what he thought before making the final decision. See if he had any ideas for June. So,
my only requirement is that everybody has fun.
Yep. Yeah. I concur. You gotta be having fun with the project. If you're not,
fun.
We're doing it wrong. All right, mixing up some burnt sienna and a little bit of yellow ochre to start the belly flesh on these guys.
Airbus, 60% cleaning, 15% fiddling, 10% swearing, 5% actually putting paint on a model. So the thing with airbrushing, as we all know, is that you have to do your maintenance on a consistent basis.
Yep.
If you don't, then yeah, you're gonna spend a lot of time maintaining when you feel like you really want to be painting, and that's just the God's honest truth, right? Stay on top of it, and it won't give you that much problem. The biggest issue that you will find is that there will be that one time that you're like, hey, I just finished, I need to get going, whatever reason, I lost track of time, so, I got to run out the door and blah, blah, blah. And you won't clean it. You'll be like, it'll be fine. And it won't be fine, You'll wind up needing to, spend 15 minutes, 20 minutes longer than you wanted to cleaning it the next time. So that's 100% of our issues around here. Pretty happy with the armor. What have I done? I've done everything except for the halo, right? And a little bit of stuff back in here, maybe. Doot. Doot. Another doot.
Doot, doot, doot. These new dinosaur models are really cool.
You're digging them.
I am.
I've seen so many people being like, why are these models calling to me? I'm like, you must have grown up in a time where dinosaurs were important to you.
Dinosaurs are just cool. Dinosaurs are cool. For most of us. Some people may not agree.
Some people may not agree.
Like gentleman to my right.
And
that's okay. That's okay. Okay. You don't have a little love and appreciation for dinosaurs. That's okay.
That's
okay. That's okay. That's okay.
They're just made up fictional characters. What do you want?
Well, in a lot of instances, you would be correct.
I love the rabbit hole of dragons.
Oh God.
Meaning that, you go around the internet where all the fun stuff is, and you find these theories. And the theoretical on the existence of dragons is actually very interesting. There is a actual group that holds, some countenance to the fact that dragons could very well and probably were reality, because it would be very difficult to explain why in all these cultures around the world we have this dragon mythos that comes around at the same time. And they're all very similar in their form, so on and so forth. So, they're always flying lizards, yada yada. And so these people have said that, birds are very hard to find in the fossil record because the hollow or way that their bones are constructed. Their bones don't fossilize because they have so many air pockets in them, which gives them, the lack of weight, and they can fly. You find very few in the fossil record flying things, and so you start reading, and there's all these people that talk about how that, could give a pretty good reasoning behind why, certain things they found. And then one of them that I was watching, and I've never studied the truth of any of this, but one of them I was watching, again, just a fun rabbit hole to go down as a fantasy lover, was one that said that there are quite a few dinosaurs that have been attributed to being from the ocean, but didn't have like the right parts and pieces to look like they were aquatic, and had like vestigial arms and legs almost.
Interesting.
But they've always looked at them and said, well, they wouldn't be land creatures because their weight was distributed over such a long lizard-like body that their bellies would have drugged the ground, because these vestigial legs wouldn't have been able to keep them tall enough.
Yeah.
So, so they said that, but what if, the bones of the wings and everything that they just didn't maintain in the fossil record, and they're your dragons. And so I'm like, yes, dragons are real.
I'm on board for dragons to have existed.
I'm very fascinated by the fact that that the historic record for so many cultures around the globe have very, very similar things going on at very, very similar times, if not the exact same time. And you're like, these cultures never met one another, yet they've drawn the exact same thing on the wall. Did they have ancient Facebook and Instagram?
I mean, hey, look, I ain't gonna say they didn't.
So they could share their photos. I'm down. I'll buy that for $1. I skipped the pale yellow on these other emblems and things, because just by skipping one of my highlight colors, it'll retain a little bit more of the yellow ochre, so that like the halo and the emblem on the backpack are just a hair different in the way the gold looks, right? A little bit more warmth. I went back on all of this stuff and used the airbrush to blur it with the pale yellow. So again, it kind of, because of the way the airbrush highlights, it kind of spreads the brightness out and desaturates all of the gold on his armor, as opposed to the way that I'm doing it like on the little thing on the gun. Now they're little things, right? The little gem holding things, the axe head, the halo, the belt, right? They're all very, very small changes in the way the gold looks. So it won't have the impact. But they're just very subtle nuances that I think make, an emblem, a gold emblem on a gold backpack, stand out a little bit better. Good gin. Don't poke the bear. Sapo, awesome. I was born before dinosaurs. They aren't as interesting to him. Yeah, exactly. I had pets. Whatever. You bastard. bastards. I told you.
I didn't say it.
32. I don't know where all this freaking nonsense about me being old is coming from.
Yep.
I'm 32. I'm just prematurely gray in my beard.
Yep. No, you dye it because you think it makes you look better. Because it makes you look better.
Makes people take me serious.
Yep.
People take me more seriously when my beard is gray. Chat's just a bunch of bums.
Bullies, more like it.
How many years? Source says, how many years have you turned 32? Bastards, all of you. 1. I was 31 before today.
That's all right. I turned 30 in August.
No, chat. I can't tell a lie. This is my 53rd revolution around the sun. Beginning of my 54th. The completion of my 53rd.
Excited.
Doc Lobster, great name.
Ooh.
Songer says, Jason is proof to my wife that people my age paint little soldiers.
Hey, there you go.
You're not the only crazy one. There's more of us. You gotta stick together.
21.
You gotta stick together.
Look, Jen's got your back. She says you're 21.
21?
Yep.
Cradle robber?
Oh. Jen, he just threw you under the bus. You were saying nice things about him. Oh, okay.
Turned 32 21 times. See?
There we go.
There you go.
There we go. Nice recovery.
So look at her. She says, I don't say nice things.
What do you mean?
That's the Jen I love right
Jen,
there.
you said plenty of nice things.
That's the Jen I know. Not about me, she didn't. That's the Jen I know.
That's true.
He actually is by far my biggest supporter. He likes me still after all these years.
Jen's pretty cool.
She has yet to find a viable way to dispose of my body, so I'm still allowed to be here. But she... You know what I've noticed is that we must be having a really good year because she watches less and less Dateline.
Oh, man. That's a good one.
Must be doing the right things this year.
Oh, I'm done with the airbrush. Hold on. I'm going to grab my water bottle. I'll be right back.
We speak the real around here, chat. The real. Chris, don't worry. I filed that one away. Filed that one away. Mixed sushi. It's fine. I remember when I was your age, full of life, before you turned 72 with your 14 children. They sapped it from you. Jack, Christmas Sushi is a liar. He is, if I weren't the king of the liars, I would say Chris was the king of liars.
Happy birthday!
Oh, man.
Birthday!
Yeah, birthday time.
Oh, yeah!
He's painting a birthday angel.
Ghost is like, oh boy, here it comes.
It's a soundboard thing.
It's kind of, the batteries are bad. Some of them don't really do
Can I
anything.
hear it?
It does a ping. What was the ping one?
There's a
Oh,
light-
that's the
there's a-
ideal light.
there's a
That's
light
the
bulb.
light bulb.
Yeah.
I remember the fart one. The fart one was great.
Is there a fart? There is. No, it's a yell.
We got
Right next to the
everybody
yell.
here.
Everyone's here.
goodness.
It's a party.
Yeah.
All
They're
right,
not hearing
on
any
three,
of it.
everyone.
They're hearing it.
They're not hearing anything.
No, I'm not singing.
One.
No. No.
Prepare yourselves, chat.
No, I'm
not
good.
singing.
I'm not singing. I already did it
Yeah, we
earlier.
already sang that.
He sang.
I did.
Choose your key.
Nobody can say that I did not sing to you on your birthday.
What did
You hate-
You're scaring me, Philip.
I did.
Get ready.
Watch the Christmas party stream tomorrow.
Getting
Philip's
old.
scaring me.
I didn't know it was that kind of stream.
He's Philip's scaring me.
Happy birthday.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
We have new guy Phil,
I am not new.
Gabe's sister,
Philip.
Liam.
Oh, hey!
Yeah.
You got Liam over there. You got Eric. Eric, who wears a knit cap in the middle of summer in Arizona. He's crazy. You got. I don't think you can see Ruben. You got to scoot in, Ruben. The paint beast, Ruben. And Jacob. Jacob over there. Come here, Jacob.
Get over here.
You gotta be famous.
Come
You gotta be famous.
Hey,
Jacob.
Hey.
Jacob.
Hey.
Who are we missing? Oh, Brennan's on vacation.
Yeah.
Maddie's out.
Yeah.
Christian's.
I couldn't find him.
I couldn't find it.
He's in his office.
Gabe's gone.
Christian's pooping. Gabe's gone. Gabe leaves early on Tuesdays.
Oh, he does?
Jen hates us.
I didn't grab Jen. Jen was already on stream.
You didn't recommend that he gets the ball.
Don't put this on me. This is his thing.
Hey, look. I
It's all
said,
him.
let's corral the troops. They didn't grab Jen.
Oh, I see how
Well,
it is.
we can blame it specifically
Honey,
on
are you
Jacob.
hearing this? I'm
Yeah,
sticking up
Jake,
for
what
your
do you
honor.
think?
I'm defending your honor. Jen's like, no, nobody told me
Guy
this was
looks at me,
happening.
He's like, how dare you throw me under the bus like
This is
this?
Jordan's fault.
This is not my fault. This is Jacob's fault.
Invaders, grab your
You're welcome to
grab your
sing if you want.
bolters.
birthday
To you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jason. Happy birthday to you.
Yay!
My deafness in that ear is cured.
It's curious.
Ah.
They cured it.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. For me, we have the most awesome team, by the way. So
Happy 82nd birthday.
except for Phil. Except for Phil.
Oh.
That was great. That was great. Source, thank you.
Happy birthday.
Mo, thank you again. You guys rule. Life is so much better with you idiots in it.
Yep. Here, you want to see my awesome new water bottle? Awesome.
It's camo with cows and cats.
No, just
Oh, it's
cats.
all cats.
It's all cats.
It's camo. Look at his camouflage bottle. But the camo is cats. Okay, that's amazing.
It's camo cats.
That's pretty amazing, actually.
Isn't that awesome?
I think that's awesome.
I love this water bottle
Yeah.
so much.
Yeah.
So I bought this one for my buddy, for Hayden, for Christmas one year. And I was like, I really want one of these days.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm just going to buy one.
Yeah, that rules. Camo
So-
cats is pretty fun.
Yeah, camo cats is awesome. It's like understated, but if you know, you know.
Yeah, once you see it,
Yeah, you're
It's
like,
there.
Except there is one That just kind of looks like a husky randomly. It's this one right here.
That's a cat? It doesn't have a snout.
It doesn't really look like a cat.
What?
It's
looks
like
fine.
somewhere in between.
It looks like a cat.
It looks less like a cat than this one does. Or this one. Or that one. Or that one. Or that one.
I think you're a little picky.
Yes. Yes, I am. Or that one.
I mean,
That
it's
looks like
camo
a
cats.
cat.
What were you expecting?
Hey, look. I'm happy with my camo cats, okay? I'm really excited about camo cat water bottle.
As you should be.
I think it's quite delightful.
That's awesome. All right, so I'm gonna give you a piece of advice.
Yeah.
Don't lose it. Don't leave it in your car.
Oh, yeah, we already figured that one out. We learned that one the hard way.
Source says, I see Pro Acryl washes on your local store's website. Is this a new product or has it been around? It's been around.
For a
I think
little
maybe
bit.
August of last year. The
Was it?
washes came out.
Has it really been since August?
I think like August of last year or something like that. Yeah.
Really?
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, you got to think about it. The only thing major we released for paints is the Signature Series in January this year.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
I guess I'm so... I just was expecting them to be more new because of how crazy they sold at Adepticon.
Well, we released an ad right before Adepticon
Uh-huh.
about the washes.
Oh.
Talking about them again, but not because they were new, but I think people thought they were new because we were just reaching more people.
Yeah.
I think the ad did better.
Hello.
Hi.
Sorry I didn't grab you.
You're starting to think that Baby J is crazy cat lady? Yes.
What? No. No.
He is.
I have a camel water bottle, but that's it.
He is closet crazy cat lady.
Did you
Doesn't
see
have
my
any
water
cats
bottle?
yet, though, right?
Were you on stream to see the water bottle?
It's cat camo. Isn't that great? That's
It's
really
amazing.
cool.
It's pretty awesome.
Like you're like, oh, it's just a camo cat.
Yeah,
Like as he shows it over there, oh, that's a neat
Catmo.
color camo cat.
Catmo.
Yeah.
It's
Cat-
cats.
It's cat mo.
Catmo.
Sapo says if they forgot to
Sure.
invite,
I
since
don't want to get one until after August. Because of trips.
Sapo says that because everybody forgot to invite you to come sing my birthday, that you need to forget their paychecks.
Ouch.
It's.
Ouch, he says. Ouch. Sapo says.
I will say.
Don't look at me. Look at chat.
Partly my fault because I tell them don't ever leave that area empty. So I can say I've nagged them so much
That they
didn't
left you
want me
there.
to- like, they left me there because I always tell them make sure you leave someone there. But I'm gonna give them the benefit.
Like I forgot to approve
now
those
I know.
paychecks.
I'll make sure to leave somebody out every time.
Hi. Fantastic. All right. Bye.
Bye. Dinner for your birthday?
The question for those of you that can't hear Jen's mousy voice in the background, she says, do I want to do anything fancy for my birthday? So what should my answer be, chat?
Oregano's. What, all you can eat pasta ain't hitting it for you?
Not right now.
It's your birthday though, so we go wherever you want.
Ice cream and donuts.
You know what I cannot recommend?
Ice cream filled donuts.
I'm gonna be
That's a long
honest.
time.
I ordered some Lou Malnati's the other day. Was not happy with my. It was not very good.
Oh,
Yeah,
that's a good one too.
very sad. Yeah, I ordered it. It got delivered. It was very expensive,
Yeah.
and I had 2 pieces and was very unhappy.
Oh, that's not good.
Yeah, yeah.
I need a better answer
Mom.
than ice cream and donuts. I mean, it's not a bad answer, but I need a better answer. Sushi?
Sushi's pretty good.
I've been having a real not friendly time with food lately. Not that it's bad, I just haven't been excited about anything. He's gonna
I
bake me a
know.
cake.
But I packed
I
all the
know.
baking stuff.
We can do it when we get in the new house. It'll be like a celebrate the new house and my birthday.
Oh, everybody.
Spaghetti.
I could make
Spaghetti.
Ooh,
Yeah.
that.
done.
See?
Done.
I got you covered.
Easy.
All right.
I can sit around the house, rub dog belly,
And I don't have to stop.
and you don't have to go to the store.
I got you too,
Mind
Jen.
making oh, I would have to.
Whatever you want, babe. If you're going to the post office, then maybe just grab one. Yeah, sure. That's fine.
Sounds like Jen also wants some cake.
Jen does like the cake, too.
Yeah.
If all we had in our house was cake, I would be happy.
Spaghetti is always a great answer. A Dante-shaped cake. I'm not going to force her to do that. That would be funny, but no.
See, I had the sneaking suspicion that spaghetti would be the right answer.
It's not bad, but it's probably one of the better of the, like, I have no good answer,
Yeah.
so that works.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm just not, like, I've been having a real hard time figuring out what food I want to eat lately. Not happy about food. It's all too rich. Sugary.
Yep. I go through phases like that sometimes. It's usually when I end up eating a lot of sandwiches.
There's nothing fancy about spaghetti, though. We're doing our cheap carbonara. It isn't carbonara, so don't get freaked out. It's spaghetti with butter and oil and Parmesan, peas, and we've got some prosciutto today. We got prosciutto to do like cheese and bread night.
Prosciutto's so good. One of my favorite, like, fancy schmancy meats.
Yeah. We got prosciutto and spaghetti.
Well, huzzah, huzzah.
Easy, cheap,
Just
fast,
Throw back my legs and pollute my breeches with delight.
and good.
You know what's good? I made this for my mom many, many years ago for Mother's Day. It was pancakes, like fluffy pancakes with ricotta cheese and apple with bacon prosciutto on top with some molasses. They were delightful, and I've always wanted to make them again. Oh my goodness, Big Bobzilla, 73 months.
Big
Hello.
Bob, the man, the myth, the legend.
Another liar has appeared.
Big Bob is the prince of the liars. Big Bob, I'm trying to think of who else has been around for absolute deadbeat. Big Bob. We've got the clan of like 6-year plus members.
Yeah. 73 is a long time.
It's crazy because people ask me. We got interviewed on the Build Paint Play thing last week, right? I think it was last Tuesday, right? When I had to leave the stream early.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yes, it was.
Yeah, and they asked like how long we've been doing the stream, and I was like, 7 years. They're like, what? Yeah, like no big deal. In BD, it's just kind of like you count them on your fingers, and you're like a long time. It's like forever. And then they're like, wait. So back up. You've been streaming 5 days a week, painting for 7 years. And I'm like, I always have to interject that because somebody will call you out on it. One of those years, we moved down for part of the year to just Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. So there was about 6 or 8 months where we just did Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday. But yes. Crazy.
Been streaming for a long time.
Crazy that chat has put up with me. I have put up with chat. Nobody's killed one another. We have taught so much painting and created so many amazing artists and community members that it's like, wow. It feels like an amazing thing.
You guys truly are awesome. Like,
I count this whole thing as one of my most amazing accomplishments in the history of ever. Is the stream community over on the Discord here in the
insane.
chat.
You guys
is just
crazy.
such a great group of people.
Also,
Well,
thank
Even
you,
Big
Burlick.
Bob, I guess.
Brulig tossed in 5 gifted subs for the chat. Thank you so much, Brulig.
Brulig, thank you.
Congratulations to Batsnat, Glinator, Old Murph, and Senor Diablo. Oh, and Allison Silverhair Paints. Congratulations on your subs. Welcome to the community. Enjoy your emotes.
Sure to give a big hug, some love.
Mazel Casts. I am using a size 2? 3. Using size 3. Big old brush. I ain't messing around.
Brulig, thank you so much, my man. What size style brush are you using on the right? Yep.
Yep.
One of our number 3 sables?
Yeah, this is one of the sables.
Yeah, he's using one of our sables. We don't do the synthetics in a 3 because the 2 and the 4 are cover all those bases. I'm using number 1 in our synthetic line for all my detail work here.
And thank you for the follow, Mazel Casts. Hope you have been enjoying the stream.
You always have trouble determining when you should use which, as far as sable and synthetic, or between sizes, or yes to both. Size of brush is typically more of a personal preference thing. I tend to use, and I think Jordan is the same, and if you watch him, that we tend to use larger brushes.
Yeah.
As long as we can. There are going to be points in time where you see me go down to like a number 1 where I'm doing all these details. Just because I can always get a really narrow point. I get it into tight areas and put little pinpricks of light around the model as I'm doing things like non-metallic metal like this. But yeah, we typically paint with like a number 2 and a number 4 are my go-tos. The number 6 for basing larger things, the number 4 for most of my work, and then the number 2 for most of my detail. Then I'll drop down to a number 1 when I need to. But that's all preference. You'll find that the smaller the brush, the less paint you get on it. So depending on how you like to paint, you might be driven to a larger brush if you like to, paint heavier-handed, putting more paint on for longer. If you find yourself just doing small little areas and focusing in very tight areas, then smaller brushes work just great. As long as they're artist rounds, you're typically going to be able to use whatever feels comfortable for you. As far as sable and synthetic go, the real difference there is that a synthetic is going to be a little snappier. It's going to be a stiffer hair than, say, a sable. There are natural hair brushes that are just as stiff as synthetics. And when I say stiff, we're not talking like stiff like a board. You know, the brush that I'm using is still very flexible, right? It snaps straight back a lot quicker and under more force than a sable of this size would. Right? If I kept doing this for long to a sable, it would eventually get a little bit of a bend to it, and then you'd wet it and straighten it back out. The synthetics are going to wind up hooking at the tip after time. So if you have a lighter touch, a synthetic works great. Or once you get used to rotating them as you use them, you'll see that I only use synthetics. So for 99% of the work that you see me doing under the brush, it's all synthetics. Whereas Baby J likes to use more sables.
Sables, yeah. I use a sable for everything right now.
Doko says I use a 2 for almost everything because you don't stop to think. Well, and that's because your brush is working for you, right? So as long as the brush size is working, then you shouldn't have to stop. And I'm a fan of that. I only think about changing brush when I'm going to a different detail or a different technique that requires a different size brush. Because there are times when I'm going to wet blend. You're not going to wet blend with a small brush unless you're doing a super tight area, and that's very rare. So, for my base coating and all of the put the color, define the color on the model stuff, I typically am using a much larger brush. Awesome, Maisel. Thank you so much. Hope we're pronouncing your name right, too. Glad you caught us here on this stream. We stream 5 days a week under normal circumstances. I feel like I always got to say that.
I feel like we've been pretty good.
We've been very good.
Yeah. I don't think we've missed a stream since I've been here. Aside from one where we've been out of town.
Yeah, well, I guess you hadn't really been on the stream other than as a guest when we had Adepticon.
Correct. That's true, yeah.
Where's a good place to get plinths for bus? Believe it or not, there's a guy, and I'm not going to remember his name as we're sitting here on stream and you need it, who does some really neat STLs.
Oh, STLs. Okay.
The base backdrop that I used for the Guardian was one of his STLs.
I didn't realize that was an STL. That's cool.
So there's more and more that you can get and can print some really neat ones. That interests you. Jacob Jansen Studios here in the States. He does some amazing plinths.
Yep. That is one of my preferences as well.
There are some European providers, but of course it's European.
Jacob's here.
So for us in the States, a little bit rougher. Welcome back, Jacob.
Another one? Oh,
who else did we
look
get?
at you. What's up, Chris? Masucci?
Christopher's just feeling bad. He's feeling bad.
Why? What'd he do?
God, it was James' birthday.
Oh, no.
Chris, did you literally just put a hot chocolate on my desk?
I did.
Is this what I think it is?
That is.
Wait a minute, he got one too?
Well, it's kind of like that little brother syndrome thing, you know. If I get you one, I gotta give him one. Happy birthday.
Thank you, my friend.
Thanks,
Cheers,
You
chat.
need that because you need help.
We got a hot chocolate
Honestly, I'm feeling pretty good today.
on a 100-degree day.
That's also just.
It's also just really good, yeah.
I know. I just was thinking about that driving up to him. Like, are you getting you a hot chocolate right now?
Oh no, it's good. If you'd have gotten me like a iced mocha, I'd have lit up and gone through the ceiling.
I thought about doing that, but I'm like, it's.
I had an iced mocha this morning, and I'm coming to grips with the fact that there's a reason why I don't do caffeine.
Oh, it'll
The staff loves me on caffeine. When I walk in the morning, the first thing they do is go, "Got caffeine this morning?" And Phil's like, "I love Jason on caffeine."
It'll jazz you up.
Oh my god, it ramps me
Happy
through the
birthday.
wall. Thank you, my friend.
You out of here?
No, I'll be over here for a while.
Okay, cool.
I love how we literally said that. The exact same cadence. The exact same way. That's
What?
awesome. We both said, you out of here?
Oh,
The exact same way. In fact, I couldn't even tell for a second that you said it as well.
I didn't either.
Yeah, we both said it. That is so funny. What a nice sushi guy.
Chris is amazing.
He's such a good dude. Except for when he's beating my face to pulp with some silly monsters. Huh?
Don't let him lie to you. He played trees, and Jordan beat him. So
Yeah, that was the most recent one. In fact, I beat him pretty good. It was touch and go there for a second, though.
it was never touch and go. Your version of touch and go is when you don't realize what your enemy's army does as you're wiping them off the table. It was touch and go for a second. Don't worry. We're all very similar. There's that unknown point of time in playing tabletop war games where you're like, boy, I don't know if this is going to work. And then you look across the table and your opponent has
opponent's
no
army
models.
is gone. Yeah.
And you're like, well, maybe I'm better off than I thought I was.
Yeah, that will go away once I have a better understanding of what other people's models do. And better idea of the game. You just say I never will? Okay. I think you will. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't. Three more dudes to put some light underbelly skin on, and then we are ready to pursue the next part of this model, or these models.
What card game's happening today, Jacob? What card game are you playing today? Really?
It's the one day. I mean, I was going to ask if you wanted to play any Digimon after stream. Yeah. Assuming Jason's going to be around for a little bit. I understand it's your birthday.
I'm always here.
I feel like it's
no rest for the weary. The Halo is coming along. Making great strides, chat. One little doot of brightness at a time.
One doot of brightness. Doot, doot. Doot, doot, brightness. When are we going to play a game of Age of Sigmar?
I know you're asking Jacob, right?
Yeah. Fetch models? You actually? I think asking Jason to stick around for a whole game of Age of Sigmar
That ain't happening.
is probably too much.
Yeah, that ain't. I'm not sticking around for a whole game of Age of Sigmar. Not the way you guys play.
Wow.
8 hours later. That is true. If you get the charges off turn 1, done game.
Are they that strong on the charge on turn 1?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Ain Ras do an absolute crap ton, or have the possibility of doing an absolute crap ton of mortals on the charge. If he doesn't get his charges off, then he can pretty much just hand it over to you. Yep.
Then I miss.
Yep. The thing with Night Haunt, Jordan, is they don't suffer from rend.
Oh, interesting.
That's kind of their shtick.
I can't imagine their saves are any good though.
Fours.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I mean, that's solid.
50% save with no rend? Come on, dude. They just are like, they don't really hit hard past their special deals.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it's the heal.
Yeah.
Fours and sixes and 2 ways to get 5 upwards. Yeah.
Yeah, that's solid.
Yeah, they just don't have enough unit types to really react in all the scenarios and do all the things. They're kind of one-trick ponies, just like my orcs.
What armies do you have? Night Haunt and
He's got
Soulblight?
anything Nagash goes in,
That's fair.
except for Ozzyark, but he could play mine if he wanted to.
That's an army I've considered picking up on a number of occasions.
Ozzyark Bone Reapers.
Yeah. the first time I thought about it, I was told they were really bad. But now they've gotten a new
Bad
book.
paint done worse. You joked that you'd play at 40k every 10 rule sets, so now you're screwed. You got to play again.
I'm actually really excited to try out 40k again. I don't have super high hopes, but it's the first edition that I've looked at and I've been intrigued by in a long time. So I'm very excited to try it out. Whether I stick with it or not, who knows?
If they detect a game happened with less than 100 references back to the rules, they release a supplemental. I love it. Bad Paint's got it right. If GW keeps track of the games played, and what they look at is how many times you had to reference the rule book to figure something out between two people, and if it's anything less than 100, they release a new supplement rule book. That feels strangely correct. Can't even lie about it.
Our rule set is not complicated enough. What can we do to make it more complicated?
You have a bunch of friends that think 10 is the one they will come back to. I think it's worth giving a shot. I like the fact, I do like a lot of Age of Sigmar's ways of dealing with combat and things like that. So they're taking some of that and applying it into 40k, which I think is a good thing. I don't know enough about it. Neither does anybody really. But I think that they overcomplicate some simple things, and they've done this thing. At Age of Sigmar, obviously we painted the Lumineth Realm Lords. I painted up enough of the Stormcast Eternals to be able to play that. We painted up the Orcs somewhat and played Orcs, and I really enjoyed the Orc list and can still play it. But the amount of mortal wound output they keep adding to every new book is just awful. Like, they've switched the game to just mortal wound race. Bring anything that can put out mortal wounds. That's how you win. And it takes away, well, you can't say it takes away strategic gameplay. It turns the strategic gameplay into how to support those units that dish out mortal wounds. How to get them where they need to be and protect them once they're there. That's what strategy becomes, because the only thing that wins games is the volume of mortal wound output. Now, I'm saying it very dramatically. There are other ways to win in Age of Sigmar too, if you can play very well, tactically on the table with taking over the objective points and holding them and getting points that way. But if you can dish out mortal wounds, it makes all that very easy. So you'll see units taken that at their face value don't appear very good if you like to move on the table and play like a big strategic melee, which most fantasy games are. It can wind up being like a shot fest of how much mortal wounds can you put out and what's the reliability. And when it just breaks down, all games break down to math if they're dice games, but when it just breaks down to the math of it, then it makes sense. You gravitate towards something that can, croak, that can, 4 times a turn do D3 mortal wounds to everything on the table, or 3 units, right?
Yeah.
So you could do 12 units D3, or 3 units, is it 3 or 4 units?
3 units.
3 units. So
D3
you can do
mortal
3
wounds
units
to 3 units.
You can do 3 units D3 times 4, right? And so he doesn't really have to play the game, right? That model, if you can keep him bubble wrap, just does that, And I'm against that type of gameplay as a game with a game developer's mind. I'm against that type of gameplay. If you don't give a way to save a wound, it should be very rare that happens. You just dish out a higher volume of wounds with things that give people the ability to save them, because it forces you to play the game. Because you aren't guaranteed, and that's a bad word, you're never guaranteed to do anything with dice, but you're guaranteed less of an ability to just raffle stomp your opponent when you've built a meta list that dishes out mortal wounds against an army that has no ward saves, right? So you can just put out something and you can be like, hey, I just one-rounded your biggest beat stick because I could mortal wound him in the hero phase, the spell phase, and the shooting and the charge phase, because I just put out so many mortal wounds and he doesn't have a ward save. So it directs you towards the models that have ward saves. And eventually, in order to sell models, they have to give everything a ward save to make it viable so that people buy it, right? And rather than just change the rules and get rid of wards and get rid of mortals, which I think they need to do in both games. I don't think 40k has as much like instant wounds anymore, does it, Jacob?
No.
Does 40k have as much mortal wound output?
I've heard
Yeah, I feel like they've reduced it in 40k.
with edition, but I
I don't know. 10th you're talking about?
yeah, specific
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
I'm not too.
I like the idea of weapons that rend, taking away your save, right? And there's a lot of that, obviously, in Age of Sigmar. But I think the Mortal Wound stuff needs to stop. You found the golden nugget there. It makes them more money to sell more models. They would sell more of every model if they got rid of Mortal Wounds. What I was saying is they have to start giving more Mortal Wound output to more models in order to make them viable to sell, which is counterproductive. They already do wounds, right? Every model in the game already has the ability to do wounds. You just have to put it in a position you may not want to. It's like, well, that model has to get into combat where it dies, so I'm not going to buy that one. I'm going to buy this unit of 10 that sits back and hits mortal wounds on 5s and 6s every time it shoots. And I can buff them with this spell that makes them shoot twice. You know, and if they get charged, I can use a command point to do, what is it called? Unleash Hell. So I can shoot then, and then shoot again, and shoot again. And I bring all these units that just shoot and put out mortal wounds. I'm like, well, isn't that what sci-fi games are for? Like,
yes.
Like, shouldn't you have to, if you're playing a fantasy game, shouldn't you have to run up and hit people in the face with axes? I mean, I feel like I play fantasy games to play melee.
I mean, I am using magic.
And then you play Caradron.
Okay, that's a sci-fi army if I ever.
You know? No, it's not your fault as a consumer. You play what you want. You play rule of cool. You can't hold it against the person buying the army and playing to the army's strengths. It's just, I feel if you want a good... Games Workshop's been trying to figure out how to make a fantasy army make them money like their sci-fi armies do. And I think they chose to make it something that's like, well, let's make it more shooty. People don't like to run up in melee because their models die too fast. And I'm like, well, have you played Age of Sigmar against an all-shooting army? It's just in Age of Sigmar, it's like if you built World Eaters and all you did was Berserkers. And so your whole game plan is get across the board and punch people in the face. And you played against Tau. Right? And you played against a Tau list with 1 million marker lights and tons of shield drones and every big gun in the game, and you made it one turn before you lost 75% of your army because everything they shot at you gave you no save.
That happened to me.
Right?
I was playing Gene Steeler Colts, my buddy was playing Tau.
And you
we
died.
were learning how to play the game. He shot an entire unit off in one activation.
Yeah, like, Gene Steeler Cults can subvert it a little bit with their hidden deployment thing, but it's tough to play that way because you can't get objectives, you can't do what you need to do.
Yeah.
Right? So they give you an out, like a get-out-of-jail-free pass, but it makes it hard to play.
To be fair, I wasn't using the terrain super well, but he still blew off an entire unit, 2 units off the table in turn 1.
War Mistress, you play Ogres. You understand the idea of run up and hit things with a big stick. Yeah, but it's funny. Ogres are a good example because Ogres have like the thing that the bird shot that did a lot of mortal wounds, right? And so you loaded up with a lot of those, the stone horns or whatever it is, right? And for a long time, that was your big beat stick. Everything else was just a way to shield that to start dishing out mortal wounds. And again, I think you remove all that from the game and you wind up with a much better game. Because your rules writers don't have an easy out, right? And your game players don't have an easy out. You got to play the game. But and then I have to take a step back and say, but if people don't want to play a game that requires the thought process of tactical movement and combat and losing models, and you know, it's funny because we become so attached to these models, right? We've spent this time painting Dante. You put him on the table, he gets shot and dies. You know, it feels bad. It can be, it shouldn't be, right? Because he's not dead. You don't have to throw him in the garbage. You just get to play another game and learn how to play Dante better, you know? And I played lots of people. And some of the best examples are playing 40K when we did our local campaign at the old office. And in that campaign, I was playing orcs, and I was the GM, right? So I only played the orcs when somebody else didn't have an opponent that week, or somebody dropped a game or wanted to get in a practice game. So I would put my orcs on the table. And my orcs were nothing special. I played a bunch of Def Dreads and you know, some Mega Knobs, and it was nothing special. I didn't run a spammy list. Oh, I was kind of spammy because I had a lot of Def Dreads. But I took the Mega Melter, or whatever it was, that every time you rolled a 1 did a wound, and you had 4 of them. And they all shot 4 times. Or 3 of them, and they all shot 4 times, and every one got a wound. So I was basically killing myself the entire game. But when I didn't roll 1s, I made your stuff disappear. So I love that. The counterbalance there was good. But the people would throw their best models up front. I'd be like, I don't know if you really want to do that. Do you understand what my army does, right? Like, I've got these truck boy Mega Knobs in this truck, and this truck's going to charge you, and then he's going to release, or the truck's going to run up, and the truck boy Mega Knobs can get out even though it basically ran, and then get out and charge, right? And people are like, yeah, bring it. And then they would lose all their best models to a relatively cheap unit that didn't really cost a lot. I mean, well, it's like Orc Terminators. They're not that great. But if they get into your lines and can do close combat, you're doomed, right? You can usually shoot them off the board before they get there. And I would do that a lot, and people would just get tilted instantly, And so I get it, because when we play these games, everybody's competitive, whether you say you are or not, and you want to at least feel like the time that you've spent on your models is worth something. And it is all the time. It's just you have to learn how to play the game, right? You need to learn placement. You need to learn to put cheap units out front to soak up combat damage, and they're meant to be removed. Your Tau warriors are not meant, your fire warriors are not meant to be there at the end of the game. Oh, if they are, you had a really bad opponent, right? Or you had a really easy scenario, right? You need chaff, and you need to be okay with your chaff dying, because that's part of you winning the game, right? And it's kind of callous to say that, but it's the case. And so I think until they figure out a way to make that pervasive in the thought process of how you write your rules, they're always going to struggle with this. You play through 2 really bad ogre books. You don't feel bad for having some decent rules now. Seems like they're pretty good. Warcry is the premier Age of Sigmar game at the moment. Warcry is pretty good. I mean, the one, I don't know. Like, again, I speak from ignorance on Warcry because I played in the first edition, and I liked the way that the game felt like heroes had a heroic impact. Does that make sense? Lots of wounds, lots of damage output, so on and so forth. It has a neat mechanic to it and how you spend action points and stuff. So I thought that was pretty cool. Right? I think that a lot of what happens in Age of Sigmar and 40K, somebody mentioned it earlier, that they would come back and play when they did alternating activations. You could keep everything the way you have it in Age of Sigmar, except for the double turning, because it would go away if you did alternating activations. There wouldn't be a change. If you kept it in the game after alternating activations, and you just at the beginning of each round determined who went first, then you could get a double activation, but you would only ever be activating possibly one unit twice in a row.
Yeah, which is totally fine.
Which I think is totally fine, right? Yeah. And so if they had the balls, GW, somebody clip this and send it to them. If you have the balls, turn your games into alternating activation and win the world, right? Yeah, like, literally nobody can compete with you. And they feel like nobody can compete with them right now, but that's just a matter of time. If they go to alternating activations, meaning that I move a unit and then you react to that unit and do something of yours, then all the mortal wounds aren't as impressive, because you don't get to do them all at once, right? And they don't interrupt your opponent's game plan as significantly, because they don't take 4 units of things that do all these mortal wounds and just say, my turn's over, what do you have left, right? You can move a unit and dish out some mortal wounds, and they can respond and maybe destroy one of your other units that does all those mortal wounds. So now you've been reduced in your output. And by me being able to react to every unit move that you do, right, it keeps everybody on their toes and makes the game a lot more well-paced, and never make anybody feel like they just got kicked in the nuts, right?
Yeah. There's another...
The kick in the nuts may come late in the game where you're very tight, and you feel like, I'm down to my last 3 units, and I really got to make this good decision, and you make a little bit of a fallacy, or your opponent makes a better decision and kicks you in the nuts, but it makes that a great game.
Yeah. As
opposed to turn 1, I shot half your stuff off the table, what are you going to do now? And you basically go, well, because you know what the most common phrase issued in 40K and Age of Sigmar is? Anybody want to guess? What's the most common phrase uttered at the table at a game of Age of Sigmar or 40K? Scout's honor.
I hope I don't get double turned.
No. Do we play this out?
Oh, yeah.
You want to play this out? Most common phrase you'll ever hear at a table of 40K or Age of Sigmar. Should we play this out? And when does it happen? Turn 2.
Yeah.
Out of a 5 or 6 turn game, it happens turn 2 repeatedly, without doubt. Now, you and I have all had games that have not come to that, but guaranteed, stated more than ever, should we play this out? Turn 2.
Yeah, I don't like that.
Bad game. Bad game. Yeah. Monkey Snacks, thanks for the follow. Yeah, War Mistress. Everything on the table should have the ability, should be used properly, and sometimes it means it all dies, right? I mean, in both 40K, I think, and in Age of Sigmar, you can lose your entire army and still win the game.
Yep.
So there are people that play that way, knowing that all I have to do is stall you. Jacob just said he plays Soulblight, and so his army is a stall army. He can gather objective points and start building his victory points while he keeps you from doing the same by just throwing so many bodies at you. Knowing eventually he'll lose everything, but by then you don't have enough time left in the game to catch up on points. And if you build an army like that, it's frustrating to play against. It feels gamey, but it works, and it's part of the game, so great, right? But you go into it knowing you're going to lose your army, right? That's the plan. If I play correctly, I lose my army, but I do it at the end of turn 5, right? Out of 6. Or at the end of turn 4 out of 5. So you got one turn, and it's mathematically impossible for you to score enough points, even with no models from me on the board, and I win anyway. You know?
Yeah, I don't like that.
The nuts will get kicked until morale improves. You think new 40K will have missions where tabling equals auto win? Oh boy, no, I don't think they'll ever do that, will they? That will be a feels bad. All armies sound like the Floyd Mayweather of boxing, awful to watch, but he wins. Yeah. I mean, yeah, to people like me, I hate them because I like rush forward punch things armies. I'm a very pugilistic kind of a gamer. I put armies together like Blood Angels that literally just everything deep strikes and charges and gets bonuses to do so, and now you got to figure it out, right? In Age of Sigmar, I like my orcs that literally move like 36 inches across the table in turn 1 and beat up a lot of your stuff. And if I don't kill enough of the right stuff, right? If my dice are bad or you've bubble wrapped your army perfectly and then you can punch back, typically I die and I lose. So I know I'm going to win the game by the end of turn 1, generally. Some games are neck and neck after turn 1 with that army. If I kill 50% of you and then you fight back and roll bad dice, I can live. But generally, I know. Turn 1, I beat you or I lose. And I like that because it's fast. I'll be honest. Part of my big thing is that I don't have a lot of time to... I can't play a lot of 5-hour games, right?
Yeah.
Unless it's thematic like our Battletech stuff. Because then you spend 5 hours, and at the end of it, you find yourself talking for more hours about the story and what you did and what could have happened. And oh my gosh, this is great. I love that because that seems like time.
You know, it's funny because I feel like they can have that in Age of Sigmar, but they don't write the rule set in such a way that it allows them.
You can do thematic play, and they do it really well in like the Path to Glory stuff, where you start along a campaign like we're doing with BattleTech, and you start with a small group and build up and build up and build up.
Incorporated some of that into the core mechanics of the game in a way that doesn't detract from playing the game.
But here's the problem: you have BattleTech, which quite possibly could have been the best tabletop war game ever made. I know it's got some things against it. Not everybody likes stompy robots in small numbers, right? BattleTech is generally a game of small numbers. You're playing with 4 or 5 mechs, maybe 6. So you don't have a ton of models. It feels better when you can put an army out because it feels like an army.
Yeah. Right?
So I get it. Small scale skirmish games don't fly for big crowds.
Yep.
Even though they're better for the hobby side because you don't have to paint as much. But it also suffers from that issue where it plays best thematically. Where we write a mission briefing. Yeah. Here's your reason for being there. Here's what you have to accomplish. The goal is to get 50% of your mechs off the board. So you're trying to stay alive rather than stand still and kill things. Yep. So you're trying to play evasive, which is a new twist, you know? So there's neat thematic things that happen. If you strip that out of BattleTech, it's the worst game in the world. Not quite, but... For the sake of drama and driving the point home, BattleTech's no fun if you just say, hey, I want to play you and shoot you. Let's see who wins. I'm going to put out my 4 favorite mechs against your 4 favorite mechs. Number one, you'll never finish that game, right? Or you'll play for 4 days. It's true. And by the end of it, it'll just feel like a slog. Yep. Because why are we even doing it? Yes. It's just picking numbers off the map. It's like, oh, you hit a piece of armor there. Oh, roll for the crit. You know, you're fishing for snake eyes the whole time, right? So... I think that there's a balance that has to be kept there, and I think that I like Age of Sigmar. I like playing a war game just to fight and to win. I think that's fun. But it either needs to happen quicker, or at the end of it needs to feel better than either Age of Sigmar or Warhammer 40K do. I know there's a lot of people that argue with me because a lot of people love going to tournaments and winning the tournaments and fighting in the tournaments. The social aspect of it is still great. Being able to befriend somebody across the table that you've never met before and talk nerd stuff, choice. Yep. Love it. Yep. Love it. But as a game, just in a vacuum as a game, it fell so short of ticking some easily ticked boxes, which a lot of other games do. Conquest, alternating activation. Somebody mentioned in chat.
Yeah.
Infinity has alternating. Well, Infinity is use your whole turn, but I have reactions I can do on my turn. And Age of Sigmar has reactions, and you get some reaction capability in like stand and shoot and things like that, but they're so rare that you really get to do anything of note, right? You know, I can relocate my army. I can kind of try to move out of the way, but my dice is so random as to whether it does anything for you, and it has a high cost. So it's a very high risk, low reward thing, that it never feels like a competent part of the battle, right? Because they've just made it too random. So there's some things they could change. Just literally alternating activations would fix both of those games, and they wouldn't even have to spend time writing new editions.
No, they would not.
Because right now, Age of Sigmar is in a good place, sans Mortal Wound output, and the fact that I get to go, and then you have to deal with me with whatever's left. Because then the double turn absolutely sucks and knocks the wind out of you.
Yeah.
Whereas a double turn and alternating activation would seem like just a slight buff for you right then.
Yeah.
But I can still respond to it.
I mean, Snail Shaman, you kind of hit it on the head with Conquest. Like, you're saying the alternating activation is what you love about it. That's one of the things that I love about the game so much.
Yeah.
Is that, you know, I basically get to play Fantasy Battle.
Source, take it easy, have a good night.
See ya. I basically get to play Warhammer Fantasy, but with alternating activations and cooler deployment. It's just like, this I can get on board with.
Yeah, I just wish the models were good.
I think
maybe Old World will be like that. Old World isn't. Old World is a rank and flank I go you go game. Assuming they don't change it dramatically. You know.
Your mileage may
GW never do alternating turn for their main games. Yeah, I know they won't. That's why I said they need to grow a pair and do it, because it'll be the best thing they've ever done for the games. Right?
Vile, yeah.
But see, I don't understand the marketing aspect of it. I'm not at the knowledge level of internal GW and what they've done in their marketing and their testing and stuff to see if they believe, because it's obviously they believe that somebody being, well, okay, I'm going to backtrack on this. I do know, because I worked for GW for a bunch of years, and I found out when I went to the tournament in the UK, right, in Nottingham, because we did the tournament, I've talked about it on stream before. We played a tournament in the US when 4th edition Space Marine Codex came out. And we were given in the business a goal to build an army to play in a tournament, and you had the office people, so like in Nottingham, everybody that worked at the main factory for GW, all the office and shipping and all the workers that worked there. And then you had stores, right? And so you would have the stores play, so managers against, you know, their teammates and stuff in the stores, because believe it or not, GW stores didn't used to just have one person working there. You had a full team, black shirt and red shirts. And so you would play in the store, and you'd play and do this kind of Path to Glory type thing. Everybody would play round robin, and you have a winner at every store. Then in the region, you would fly all the stores together, and they would fight, and all the people in the business unit would fight. And so then we had winners. Well, I won for the business unit in the U.S., and and then we had a guy that won for all the stores. And so everybody got flown out there, right, to Nottingham, and we played with everybody from around the world. It was amazing. Just a tremendous thing for GW to have done for the employees. We flew out there, and in the U.S. business unit, right, we had been told that our goal was to find the cracks in the 4th edition Space Marine book. We wanted to find out where the rules broke down, because this was still in the development phase of 4th edition Space Marines. So I built an all Raven Wing army for Dark Angels, because I found the crack in the Space Marine book very early on. It was called rending. And so if you could get more rending, you could win easily, because of just the volume of, you needed rending on units with volume of dice, because that's the way meta numbers work. So I developed the Raven, because at the time, all of the supplementals, they used to have the main codex for Space Marines, and then you had little supplement books that were soft-bound books that were like Dark Angels, Space Wolves, Blood Angels, all that. And so I had the Dark Angels supplement book, and in it was the Raven Wing rules and how to build a Raven Wing army. And it still was legal with the 4th edition Space Marine book. So in 4th edition, they made rending a thing that if you rolled to hit on 6s, they auto-wound, okay? And so you almost couldn't win against that. It was like, basically like mortal wounds. It was just, you rolled 6s.
That's exactly how mortal wounds work in a lot of armies.
Right. Now, right?
Yeah.
Back then, that was almost unheard of, except for like power fists, things that doubled your toughness, right? And so, but this was just auto wounding and no save. And so you would look at it, and so assault cannons were the thing because they did I don't remember 6 shots. They were assault 6 or something like that back then. And so ridiculous amount of dice on a land speeder because you get a land speeder with an assault cannon. Right, and so you had 6 shots, and they came in squads of 3. So you rolled 18 dice per squad, and you could take 5 squads. So 18 times 5 plus the Master of the Raven Wing that had a dual auto assault cannon that was twin linked. And then you took 2 dreadnoughts in my list that both had assault cannons, and then I took 2 the cheapest units of scouts with sniper rifles for my troops because you had to have the mandatory 2 troops. That was my list. Massive amount of land speeders, right? 2 dreadnoughts. 10 scouts, led by the Master of the Raven. Very thematic, except for the dreadnoughts. Granted, but the dreadnoughts were hey, I needed more assault cannons. And it was not uncommon for me to win at the top of 1, right? It was a feels bad army. And we were pushing through the idea that you mess this book up. You need to change this rule before you release it to the public, because if you allow it, this army will be built. And people will take this out and ruin people's days, and it will create a bad experience, and nobody will want to play. It's not that big of a deal, but you get it, right? And we got over there, and they downscored me in the tournament because of how unsportsmanlike my army was, right? So there's no way I could win from the get-go. When they did list reviews, they downgraded me because of unsportsmanlike conduct for my list building, which was new to me. I'm like, I was told to build a list that proved that your rules writing sucks. I said it more diplomatically than that. But it just showed a difference in mindset of rules writing for the British versus how we treat rules in the U.S. Now, this is, of course, back in 2006, 2005, 2006. So, you had a different mindset probably back then for tabletop wargaming in general because there weren't as many war games, there weren't as many choices, there wasn't as big of a crowd playing. Now it's become hugely different. But I think the mentality stays the same to some extent. You still have the rules writers in Nottingham and for a bunch of these companies writing rules to have fun as beer and pretzels because it's the hobby and the entire social thing that is the most important thing, which I totally agree with. That's what I'm here for. I'm not here to kick you in the nuts and win tournaments. I don't go play in tournaments. I don't care about them. But there are a lot of people who do, and they're very vocal. And so as a new person finding a game, guess what you find out first?
Competitiveness.
You hear those voices that are talking about how this army sucks, right? For whatever reason. Something's OP, all of that, right? So in the age of easy data retrieval. So I'm a fan of toning things back, to allow the games to play a little bit more strategically for those people that want to play at tournaments, so there aren't any more ways to win turn 1. Very hard to win turn 2 unless you just have a really bad opponent or a bad matchup. And that in the long term will make it more fun for everybody, right? Because number one, people will find the game and won't immediately be introduced to how bad the army they like is, right? Because if they go talk about, hey, thanks for having me, new to the game, really interested in playing Tau. Tau sucks. Either Tau sucks because the army's bad or Tau sucks because it's too good and they suck to play against, right? So you help strip a lot of that out, which helps the hobby in general. That's my stance. That's my hill to die on. I get it, right? War Mister says, how would you keep track of units have activated? Tokens, generally? Yeah. I mean, how do you keep track of which units have activated in an I go, you go? You don't. It's all done on strength of honor between 2 people. I could stand and shoot with a unit in 40k or Age of Sigmar right now and come back and say I'm going to activate this unit and shoot with them. And if it was lost in the melee of the turn, you'd never be able to stop me anyway. So we already do that with I go, you go, right?
R.S. Blunden, I see you dry brushing. How do you dry brush but not have it look powdery and bad? You keep your paint a little bit wet.
Keep the brush a little bit down.
Yeah, when it dries out, you get paint that will dry and fleck off the brush on your model, which is what causes that kind of powdery effect. So I try to keep wet paint on my brush so that it stays where I want it. And I'm also doing a little bit of like overbrushing here because I want more on the model. But yeah, you want to keep it nice and damp. not like super wet, but definitely keep it a little bit more moist than you would expect, and add paint to the brush pretty frequently. Right as you stop sort of getting the same sort of effectiveness out of your strokes on the dry brush, you want to add a little bit more to it. So for me, it's like one every model. I'll just like add a little bit more paint to my brush.
Yeah. You got to season it like he's talking about. Don't clean it out.
Yeah, you only want to clean it out in between.
To dry brush properly, need wet brush. Not wet, but yeah, damp is good. Vile needs, I would only play with tokens, or Warmish said, I only play with tokens like that if the commonly played format was smaller points, less units. No, you wouldn't. If it was big, you'd still do it. You know, if that was how you did it. I mean, it's like you can play in a game where you have 10 units, 12 units. That's only 10 or 12 tokens. That's not any different than a skirmish game. In Infinity, it's not uncommon to have 20 activation tokens, somewhere between 10 and 20, you know, and it gets played quite a bit. And it plays with units of, you know, up to like 10 dudes in a unit, I think. So I think you would if it were part of the deal. But again, like I said, you don't have to have tokens. You know, you already don't use tokens, and you keep track of who's gone and what unit is moved. You just do it on a all-inclusive for that army basis. You know, so I think you would want to, because there's going to be more happening between choices, you would probably want to have some identifier that they've been activated. And you would do it. You already put dice all over the table to track wounds. There's no good way to track multi-wound models. So you're already doing these things. It would just be a different thing that you do, just like what you're already doing. It wouldn't change anything. Let's revive Mordheim. Mordheim was probably the worst of the GW games, that style. Necromunda was better. Mordheim was good, but it always tended to fall flat. The problem with Mordheim is that you really need to play it again in kind of a campaign RPG sense, and somebody always runs away with it. That's why those games are so hard, right? Anytime you're doing a campaign, it's very one person starts winning and gets abusively OP too quick and outpaces everybody. Every time you do that, it happens. Because somebody's going to win a lot of games and be good at the game, and unless they're prepared to have the GM say, oh, earthquake, you lose all your stuff and a reset to 0, you know, which feels bad, those games get away. And Mordheim was definitely that game. Like, it got away from you quick. Right? Gorka Morka. Yeah, Inquisitor was bad. No one played it. That's funny. Inquisitor initially was not played because the models were too expensive. They were all the 50 to 65 millimeter metal models. They were hard to find, horribly priced. So yeah, I get that. And there weren't very many of them, right? You were limited in what you could play because there were only like, I don't know, a dozen or two models for Inquisitor. Yeah. And none of them were really generic. There was a Space Marine, but he was like a Death Watch Marine, so it wasn't like you could take him because they're all individual character kind of models. So you couldn't just build an army of one model type. So
I think I have.
The scale was neat, but yeah, it was hard. It came out at a time where the idea, and the game was actually really cool, and there's a whole world out there called Inquisitor 28. They played it in 28 millimeter, so now it's much more accessible, and the rule set is pretty cool. But again, it can get away from you real quick because it is more RPG-ish, you know, experience points and bonus equipment. And the real problem in that one was always your psyker getting out of control, or if you took a what is it called? A demon. If you trapped a demon, if you were the psychic, if you chose to be the heretical or guy off on the far branch, you trapped a demon host, create a demon host. If you had a demon host, it was over. He was like, okay, I guess. I thought Digital Mordheim was okay. Everybody hated it. It got really bad reviews. I don't know if it was because it was so buggy. The red shirts all died. That's why they're just black shirt manager stores now. Quicksilver.
Oh, wow,
I like that.
Funny.
Never put them in red shirts. Should have never put them in red shirts.
Poor red shirts.
RoboCorpse, you did the orange highlights with dry brushing.
Yep. It was orange dry brush on top of the red, and then I did yellow ochre, and now I'm going back over it with transparent red, mixed with a little bit of transparent orange and some glazing medium.
You can still play the Mordheim game, I think. Matter of fact, I think I saw that it was on sale for like 90% off on Steam yesterday. Because they're doing some Skulls promotion for all the GW digital games. You can get all of them super cheap. I picked up a bolt gun. I haven't played it yet.
That's the one that's like
and let you know.
Doom, right?
It's like the old Doom, yeah.
Yeah.
They call them boomer shooters, and I think that's a negative. But somebody doesn't understand what a boomer is. So no video games came out when boomers were a thing.
Yes.
By the way.
Correct.
Maybe Pong. Pong is a boomer shooter. You bought some stuff, but you can't buy the big DLC pack you want because money. Oh, was it still too pricey? GW's like that, though. Even on their sales, you know, it's only the crappy games that get put on 90% off for sure. Oh, Necromunda had some wild stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think GW needs to take some risks. I think that, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because they're publicly traded that risks in the gaming thing that they feel like, you know, might disrupt shareholder profits. We always like to move there first, and that, I don't run a publicly traded business, so we don't have to have those conversations here, but we still have conversations. It's like we can't do things that are too crazy, right? Because we got to make sure our customer base still knows who we are.
Yep.
You know, we can't just run out tomorrow and start making neon signs.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
because people will be like, why are you making neon signs? That doesn't make any sense. So you can't change, you know.
Well, that's
but
the
they come
thing,
in colors, all the colors of our paints. Well, what does that mean? That doesn't mean anything.
Everybody has bought into 40K and they know what to expect at this point.
Yeah.
So if they all of a sudden wake up the next day and their new edition is dramatically different, what are they? They're just going to be like, I don't know if I like this game anymore. But I invested all this money and all this time into hobbying this. So I think if you're going to make those changes, you need to make them slowly over a long period of time.
I mean, I don't know. They've made some big changes doing edition to edition. I don't know that you have to do that.
Well, I mean talking about changes like alternating activation.
I mean, it isn't that big of a change. It is not. People think it is, but when you play a game, you can go play 40K right now and do alternating activation and have all the fun you've ever wished you could have. And it's super easy to do.
Yes.
The rule set doesn't even have to change much.
I think the problem is we know that because we've played a lot of different games. I think a lot of their customer base has only ever played 40K.
But all they have to do is test it.
I understand that. But you talk to anybody who's only ever done one thing. They like their one thing. They're not really interested in it.
Anybody that says they've only ever done one thing is a liar. That's what I know about life. You've never just done one thing. Now, you could tell me that the only game you've ever played is 40K, and I'll believe you. That's not a lie.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's not a lie. But 40K is not one thing. If you've played 40K for over a year, you've played multiple things. Because they change your own army, as well as every other army, during the course of a year. So 40K is never the same. Like, it's never been the same. If you played 3rd edition versus 7th edition versus 10th edition, or 9th edition where we're at now, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You've played lots of different war games in that period. They just happen to be the same theme, and the armies are called the same thing. But ask War Mistress, right, who was in here that was talking about the ogres. How different do ogres? They feel like a totally different army from when they first came out. I played ogres in fantasy battles. Totally different. Same with like orcs and goblins that in Age of Sigmar. I immediately wanted orcs and goblins for Age of Sigmar, thinking, "Oh my god, that was my army in fantasy battles." What a what a wrong move that was. Totally different. I get what you're saying, right? But people who are fearful of change are destined to stagnate in that they don't like. Because you're not going to be able to just change the game for the better without actually throwing the baby out with the bathwater at some point. They've been trying to for 40 years, right? Or 35 years. And they haven't been able to do it. That's why I say, it's like, at some point in time, you try something new. Risk it. I think Age of Sigmar was trying something new. I think Age of Sigmar was a way to try something that would invest in a new way of looking at their rules that wasn't so far changed. Yeah. And now you're seeing them take some of what they've learned from Age of Sigmar and apply it to 10th edition.
I think that's a great thing. 100%. And I think that shows growth in a great way. So I'm excited to see where it goes in the future. Because you're right. You're 100% correct. The change the changes that they're making to 40K, which is their number one selling game, and how they're making it more like Age of Sigmar is very interesting, and is telling that they think that Age of Sigmar is in a great place right now, and that they want 40K to mirror that.
They finally should do some solid RPG in the Warhammer 40K universe, like having all aspects. The 40K RPG is actually really good. The one Fantasy Flight did, but it's not available anymore. You can still find the books in PDF. It's neat.
I didn't realize they did a RPG.
It's neat. It's got tons of books, tons of scenario books, and all sorts of crazy stuff.
That's cool.
Yeah, so I mean, it's a neat thing. It's unfortunate that it didn't make it.
Didn't last,
right?
Yeah.
And that was because Fantasy Flight lost the license, and nobody else has done that since. It didn't sell very well, so I assume I understand why everybody's afraid to try it. But
I think people would be surprised how good some things that don't sell very well are.
Monkey Snacks, you don't recall Ogre Kingdoms being that popular or good in Warhammer Fantasy Battle? Models were hella cool, though. They were the first army that had that much beef on the table all at once, right? Everything was 2 wounds minimum, except for the Noblars. And the Eat the Noblars Heal thing was really cool. I don't know that they were ever good because I didn't play games to care. If I wanted to beat your face in, I played Tzeentch. I had Orcs and Goblins was my main army that I played in fantasy battles because it was hilarious. There was only 2 ways Orcs and Goblins played. I either beat you down with you not really having a chance, or I killed myself without me having a chance. Because everything you did in that army that was not Black Orcs killed itself more often than it killed the other guy. But if you got good rolls and you had Black Orcs where you needed them that could kill a dude to keep them in line, they were like the commissars, right? Then the army could be brutal. You just couldn't take enough Black Orcs, right? They were smart. They made sure that you can't just take a lot of Black Orcs. You could take an all Black Orc army, I think, but it was too expensive and didn't put enough on. It was too elite and it couldn't win. So I played Tzeentch. Mortal Chaos Tzeentch was the way to go because, I'm just going to roll 1 billion spell dice.
And we're going to get somewhere.
Yeah. And then I'm going to hit you with cavalry.
Turns out those things are pretty good.
Painting the Ogre Lord model when it came from the studio. Yeah, I mean, like when Ogres first came out, they didn't have a lot, right? It was just a bunch of dudes on foot. You had what are they called? Lead belchers, the guys with big guns. They had the deck cannons that they carried around that were filled with like spears and chaff metal.
Yeah.
And then you had the pot and the hunters. Because you had the butchers, the hunters, the standard foot troops. You didn't have anything. You didn't have any cavalry initially, I don't think. Yeah, you had very limited models. You had the Yetis that were the worst model ever in metal, horrible, and then the saber-tooth cats or whatever they were. Yeah, you didn't have a lot of models, but they were just so good when they came out. Looking, it was just like, oh my god, these are so different. Had they come out and had like stone horns, but remember, no army had stone horns back then because they weren't doing big models like that in plastic at the time.
Yeah.
We're talking about the early 2000s. There just wasn't a lot in there.
Because their stegodons were eventually plastic, right?
Vile Need says, unless you're in a GT, you can play with alternate activations and it wouldn't change the game at all. Well, it changes the game a lot because it makes it more balanced instantaneously. It also changes the game a lot because it makes it makes movement so much more important when you do alternating activations. And so spatial awareness and vision on the board becomes so much more tactical and more important and more in-depth when you do alternating activations. Because when you go, I go, you go, right? And I look at my army and I look at the board, it's a very binary thought process. It then breaks down to how I move each unit, but I have the whole board as my choice, and I go through unit by unit and figure out where I need to move them for the best potential. And then I move them all to those places, and I see my plan come together, right? It can be fun, right? But it doesn't take as much attention to the game as, okay, I look at the board at the beginning of the turn, or round, and I look at it and I say, okay, I'm going to try to move here, 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 and here. That's how I vision this turn going really well for me. And then you start and you move your first unit where you wanted to, and then your opponent moves, and now you can't move your second unit where you wanted to because your opponent stole your strategy away from you, right? It's chess. It's a difference between chess and, I don't know,
Not chess.
Not chess, right? I mean, why is chess the greatest battle game ever made next to Go, right? Because of what we're talking about. Because every time you sit down with the same opponent, there's an opportunity to have him blow your mind with a new move, right? I can play Blood Angels against your army time after time after time in alternating activations, and it will take longer to feel repetitive, right?
Yep.
Than I go, you go. It's just a known fact. There's just nothing about it. It's all math.
It's the same thing.
Because I can, instead of moving this important unit into the middle of the board, I can take it up the flank this time, and you'll go, ooh. How do I react to that? You know?
Yeah.
And so you always have the ability to say, oh, I can mess up my opponent's entire game plan with one unit. Whereas in I Go, You Go, it's really not that way. You know? And plus, the single biggest feels bad for me and for a lot of gamers is when you spend all your time on the army, put your army on the table, and lose at deployment. Right?
Yep.
I put all my stuff on the table, I lose the go first roll when I really needed it, and my opponent goes first, and I took the risk to kind of stick myself up there so that I was hoping I'd get the go first roll so that I could move further, and my opponent gets it and shoots all my important units off the board. So it incentivizes playing risk-free, hiding my entire army turn one. So now you got two armies that are hiding turn one, right? And so that takes a lot of the fun away because it makes it longer to get into engagement range usually. And so if you did alternating activations, you can be more aggressive with your deployment because you know they can't shoot all of your units. They can only shoot one of them. Yep. So you can actually deploy to give them a decoy unit, which is strategy, right? You can't really do that when their whole army's going to shoot, right? So you can't bait them the same way. It puts a new level of strategy into the game that makes it more intriguing and makes it easier for you to take the same army and adapt to multiple ways of playing the game, as opposed to feeling like every time you lose, you need to go do what? Every time you lose with your lizardmen, what's the first thing you start thinking about? What units to change?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Typically. When we play I Go, You Go games in 40k and Age of Sigmar, the first thing you do when your list loses a couple times, you look at what you need to take out and what you need to put in, as opposed to how you need to play it differently, because you don't have as much flexibility in playing it differently. It only really deploys one way because you got to keep everything within the auras. It only really does its one trick pony thing, or maybe two. Whereas if you play the alternating activation method, you can be like, okay, I'm going to keep this guy back and I'm going to put this unit up. Or I'm going to put all these wide on the flank, you know, and all these over here, and we're going to see, you know. So it gives you a lot. It does change the game a tremendous amount.
It lowers the power level of the game a little bit, like the top end power level, because
you don't remove as much all at once.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Armies that are meant to feel. I don't know that anybody they're ever meant to feel OP. Armies don't feel butt kickingly OP at that point.
Yes.
They still may win consistently because they still may be hard to kill.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
the scouts that he lined up, because the infiltrate used to let you line up within an inch of any board edge, but outside of a certain amount of space from everybody else. And the one guy didn't. He chose to deploy everything off board. He put his scouts. The way the rules are written, when you came in from that whatever that deployment was called, you had to come in on your board edge, and he couldn't, because he couldn't bring any models in outside of the territory of the scouts. Because there's that meme picture of the guy with his scouts looking at the camera smiling, and the guy who's playing arguing with the DO.
That's so funny.
And he lost at deployment. No, it was I don't remember what army the other guy was playing. He was playing maybe some Space Marines, Space Wolves, or White Scars or something like that. Or
I heard about
this. One of them was playing Space Marine Scouts, and the Space Marine Scouts had the infiltrate rule, and you had to be deployed within you could deploy up to 1 inch within any board edge, which generally meant you couldn't deploy in your opponent's deployment zone because you had to be outside of a specific amount of range of your opponent's army. But since the opponent didn't have any models on the table, it said any board edge, so he deployed across his opponent's board edge. The opponent's army, in order to come on, had to come on from their board edge, but he could choose when.
Yep.
So
I got a picture right here.
Is it the one with the guy smiling at the camera? Oh yeah, it was. It was all his oh, that's right, because the other guy had the full White Scars biker army, and the bikes could all be deployed off the board edge, and come in, but they had to come in from his own board edge, right?
That's awesome. Way to go. Way to game the system.
Bad Paint Done Worse says, why don't people just play that way? Because the rules aren't written that way, and so you guide people towards how the rules work, right?
People will always try to game the rules.
The I Go You Go rule system does have some nuances that would have to be changed to just run it as alternating activation, because you have some things that are set up in like the hero phase in Age of Sigmar or the psychic phase, because of the way it's done phase by phase by phase. You can't do that as easily, right?
You just change a lot of it to during your
You have to kind of
activation.
rethink the way those phases go. I mean, you can still have movement phase, you can still have all of that stuff, but it's in the movement phase. I'm moving here, moving here, moving here. You don't want to do that. You want to play alternate. And well, I say that you could probably do it as kind of a hybridized situation, but in a perfect world, you would activate a unit entirely. You would move it, shoot it, assault with it, fight with it, right? And then your opponent would pick a unit to go with, right? And they would move, shoot, do all its things, right? So that changes some of the gameplay, because if you have specific units that are psychers, where do you allow them to do their psychic thing? They may be the first unit you pick, so they get all their psychic things off, but a lot of the psychic abilities and spells in these games are meant to be one and done and affect everything, and then everything gets the benefit from it in that one push. So you might have to change a little bit of the nuance of that in order to really make it work. Some house ruling would be necessary. Because if you just go movement phase, I move this unit, you move that unit. Okay, I move this unit, you move that unit. I move this unit, you move that unit. And then we go shooting, and we go shooting. You can do that too, where you kind of do that leapfrog, where each phase is alternating activation. So that can work too, right?
I'd love to try the game.
That's less impactful, right? Because if I like the idea of me being able to move a full unit, activate that unit, because if that unit is a strong unit, moves up, gets in a good position, and blows away one of your units, I've now changed your entire ability to play your half of this round, because you now have fewer options, right? So I like that, because that again puts the game to where you can feel like you're on your heels out of nowhere. You can also then make your opponent have the same feeling, and so that keeps it as a game that I think is more fun to play, because you still have the ability to make your army feel OP for you, which is a big thing, right? You want to feel like you spent time on your army, and if it wants to kick ass, it can kick ass, and I'm a fan of that. So I still think you need to be able to move your Terminators, right? Or drop your Terminators onto the board with a Deep Strike, and then assault with them and wipe a unit that hasn't even activated out, right? I think that the game needs that, right? Because that then puts your opponent on their toes. But it also, with an alternating activations, means I just stood my Terminators in the middle of his army to get rid of surgically strike this one unit, but now his entire army could focus on me for the rest of the turn. So that can be a good rope-a-dope on my part and a good scalpel at the same time, which I think makes gameplay a lot better. Out of here? I know, Jacob just likes the chairs.
To be fair, so do I. He often comes in during stream to just enjoy
Motor
the
Breath
chairs.
Jazz, what's going on? Thank you for the follow. Keeping everything off the board is so cheesy. May not be against the rules, but it sure is bad sportsmanship.
Cool.
You know, it's interesting
Right on.
because I can see where you would think that if it feels gamey, you know? But I also think that in the proper rule set, you can make it something that is within the sportsmanship of the game, as you put it, but it has to have a high risk reward. I think everything in a good war game is high risk, has an option for risk reward, right? And that they have an equal reward attached to every risk, right? So if it's low risk, it shouldn't give you high reward. If it's high risk, it should be able to deliver high reward in every instance of the game, right? Because that's what offers you really good strategy. Because if I put out a high risk play and it rewards me, I deep strike my Terminators, I need a 10-inch charge, boom, I roll the 11 or the 10, I get him in there and I destroy his HQ in turn 1 because of his bad deployment, then that is the reward I needed. It puts him on the back foot immediately, right? But it doesn't ruin his game because I wasn't able to do that and then move all my other units and shoot everything else off the board to where now he's neutered by 50 or 75%. Just taking his HQ or one of his very important units that you knew his game plan relied on, if he's smart, he has another game plan, right? And so your opponent then has to immediately figure out, okay, what am I going to do? I just lost a very important piece, right?
There you go. That sucks. Okay, how do I get out of this?
Yeah, how to react? Because there's no better feeling than coming back after that and putting your opponent in that same situation, because the more bad decisions you can make your opponent make, the more chances of ill-gotten gains they have, and the more chances of success you get, right? That's just common sense. And so you really want to try to make your opponent have as many bad decisions to make as possible. And so if they're doing it to you and you're doing it to them, you get to the end of the game and it feels like it was worth playing. I think you set yourself up for a lot more storied games where you talk about them longer. Because like I said, the length of game time is hard for people. If you play for 2.5 or 3 hours in a round of 40K, but you got kicked in the nuts and you really lost in round 2, that game wasn't fun.
Yeah,
Right?
especially if you have to play it out.
The person you played against might have been great and you had a great social time and all that, but you don't go talk about it much. You might talk about the person you met and that's great, but the game sucked, right? I would rather play a game that went, 4 or 5 rounds and was close until the end, when maybe it didn't get close, maybe attrition kicked in round 4, and I knew at the top of round 4, I'm done. Holy hell, I needed that die roll. I didn't get it. Ugh, shake hands. Because you'll talk about that game. You'll talk about all the things you did right, all the things you did wrong. You'll learn more from it, right? And you'll remember it so that you continue to get better at playing these games. Not because you're going to be a millionaire playing these games, not because you're going to go pro, none of that. Just because it makes the time invested in them feel better, right? I think we can all agree that the time you put into any endeavor needs to feel like it gave you enough return,
Yep.
or you won't keep doing it.
Yep.
Right? Your job, your relationships, everything. And so I always strive, and we always strive at Monument, to make sure the hobby, that big all-encompassing term, is something that can include you at whatever level you want to be included, right? And that when you include it, when you go and you put Pro Acryl paint on a model, the reward is like, holy hell, that's amazing, so that you want to paint more, right? And so I think we'd all agree that that goes down to gaming too, right? Tryhards ruin everything. They can, or the system can allow it to feel that way, I think. We all know people like that, or we've read stories about people like that are just like win at all costs, And sometimes it feels bad. But I can see how people have said, dude, you're just a win at all costs player. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to invest my time, I want the opportunity to win. It doesn't mean that if I don't win, I get salty. It just means that I'm going to play to win, right? And I want it to be a good experience for everybody. It's why I've stopped playing Age of Sigmar, because my army was abusive, right? It plays the way I want to play, but it's not fun to play against. And so I've just kind of been like, well, until I find another army that is fun for me to play that doesn't feel that way, I'll just refrain from playing the game, right? Yeah, the orcs. Well, Jacob is over here saying he thought my orcs were fun because you were always trying to think of how you could beat them and trying to come up with new things to tool against them. But that was bad too, because that's not a very common thing that you're going to see. So
No.
If you made your army beat me, you were going to lose against everything else. So but your comment was referring to the scouts who deployed. Yeah, that was very gaming. Yeah, that was very gaming. Well, but it could be. Yeah, that's a tough one, right?
Well, I think
Because we've had one side of the conversation stated in chat that the person that deploys completely off game or off table is very unsportsmanlike, and then I'm assuming the tryhard gamer that put all his scouts on the back edge to prevent the other player from being able to play the game and win on deployment. Those are both just different sides of the same coin, right?
I think
If I saw you do something silly at your deployment,
yeah,
and we were playing in a fun game here at the office, I would say you probably don't want to do that, Jordan, because I'm going to show you why. Or I let you, and I say, on turn 1, I go, okay, now I let you do this, I'm going to show you something, and then we're going to start over.
Correct.
And I'm going to show you the
Yes.
problem and have fun, and we're going to roll the dice, and you're going to go, holy hell, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And then I'm going to go, yeah, now let's re-rack.
It feels
Right.
bad to have that happen to you in a tournament game, but
But
also
at a tournament,
if you're playing a tournament, you should know
I
better.
am not going to tell you ought to do something different.
Yeah, you should know better if you're playing in a tournament.
Yeah.
And the thing is, the White Scars player had the opportunity to not deploy that way. It's not like his army said you had to, right? If your army says that you have to, and your opponent
Well,
does
that was
it,
the
you're like,
perfect
come
storm.
on.
That was the guy
Right?
that played the full ambush army against the full infiltrate army.
Yeah,
One army's trying to get into your zone, and you're trying to not be in your zone.
yeah.
So that's very rare, I think, and that's why it was a rules question that got brought up that became the meme, because it was so odd. So I don't know that you fault either of them. I think you,
No.
if at anything,
Well-
you say that they were both trying to play the right game.
Yeah.
It just turns out that by playing the right game, they became historic. You know?
I would make the argument that like it as a player who is playing an army that doesn't deploy on the table, I should probably be aware if there's rules that stop me from deploying my models by people putting stuff in my deployment. Because those rules exist.
Valandar, I can see that. Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything you're saying. I don't know the situation not being there and not knowing the people, right? Again, they were in a tournament. So in a tournament, your goal is to win. Tournaments are different in my perspective because you're there to win, and I owe you as an opponent sportsmanlike play, fun times, a good social experience, but I do not owe you any slack.
Yeah.
Right?
That's very, very real.
I have to, as a tournament player, be able to understand that unless they're doing brackets, so they're saying, here's the beginners tournament, here's the mid-level tournament, here's the pros, right? So when you think about sports, you don't find the pros going and playing in T-ball league.
Yeah.
Right? There's a reason for that.
It's not very fair.
That's unsportsmanlike, right? But if we're both at the same level and we're honest about it, we're both mediocre players, so we're playing in the mediocre league, and we get there, I don't have to cut you any slack. I'm not going to cut you any slack in a tournament because it only works if I can rely on the fact that everybody across the table is of a similar skill level as me and understands the game to the same or similar level that I do. Because otherwise it breaks down. I've played in tournaments for War Machine. War Machine and Infinity are the only two game systems that I really got deep into the tournament scene on. And in War Machine, we would play the Phoenix Open here in town, which was the largest qualifier for national finals. One of the largest qualifiers, definitely the biggest in the Southwest. And so we'd play, it was right up at Imperial Outpost.
Yep.
And I would go and I'd play. And there would be people there that were going to have fun, and they came to have fun in a tournament. They never played a tournament before, and those were the games I hated the most because I felt bad. I chose to feel bad because there was this nice person I'm playing against, but to play their game would have run the clock out, right? Because War Machine's played on a clock, and new players that don't understand the rules take a lot of time to play. Yep. And I was only a mediocre player at best. I still took too much time to play. So the handicap I bring to the table of not being a very fast player was multiplied by this other player not knowing the rules. So I would, at the beginning, I'd be like, hey, you can't do that. Here's the way this works. And then again, hey, that's not how this works. Maybe think about this before you do it. And then after that, TO, I'd have to call the TO. Otherwise, I'm sacrificing the game and why I gave up my Saturday or Sunday or both to be there playing. And so you have to have a respect as a player to walk into a tournament knowing that I deserve to be here, I want to be here, I want to play by the rules. Otherwise, don't go to the tournament, go play casually. Right? Yeah. I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair because it shows disrespect to show up to a tournament and not expect to play at that level, whatever the tournament is. You know? And some people don't like that. Some people think that I should be able to go to the tournament and have it be my first time I've ever played the game.
I mean, you can do that. Just acknowledge the fact that you're probably going to lose.
Expect to get kicked in the nuts and not have anybody feel bad about it.
I did it.
Oh, me too. I like to learn by trial by fire. I like to learn trial by fire. We did it with Digimon.
Yeah.
That's the way he got us into Digimon cards. We just went and played.
Yeah.
Screw it. I think one of the first times I went and played, that's the only way you can play, right? I just went on a Friday or Wednesday night and played in a tournament, right? I'm like, I don't even know what I'm doing. I don't even know what I'm doing. But I went and I tried my best to tell people, hey, I'm new. Please excuse if I do something wrong. Just wipe me out. It doesn't matter. I'm not going to feel bad. Just play your game. Don't play, to my benefit. And I think that worked really well.
Yeah.
But I had to be honest enough and say, listen, I'm not here to make your experience bad. I'm just learning, and I feel like this is the best way for me to learn. So it's not that you can't do it.
You just have to be willing to lose and acknowledge that, like...
Now, first guy was unsportsmanlike and got outdone. The story of what happened is on the net. The Scars guy was known to pull that trick. Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe so.
That makes it even more funny.
I mean, if the Scars guy was that guy and he got fed a taste of his own medicine, then
Yeah, it's great. Makes me laugh. Makes me laugh.
At the base of it, we want everybody to have fun. But you remember that fun is subjective. And so it's something that I tend to say, hey, just have fun. But I don't know what that even means to you. Right? Some people, the only way they have fun is by winning.
Yeah.
And I feel bad because it's not like, if you're into something that you win 100% of the time, you probably shouldn't be there. You should be doing something else or be a level up, right? And that's tough. Same way if you're doing something you lose all the time, you need to reevaluate and say, what can you do to not lose all the time?
Yep.
Yeah, if it was a that guy's situation, he deserved it. Yeah, exactly. Right. I don't know the story.
Heck, I've been going through that with Digimon for the past couple of weeks. Been really struggling with the deck. And I'm like, I need to figure out a way to make this work. Or figure out what I'm doing wrong.
If you had a nickel for every time a tryhard went too hard, the cops were called, I would have 1 nickel, and that's too many? I don't understand. You hope orcs are going to be fun in 10th? Me too, man. I still have my orcs. I never finished painting them, but we added Gazgul Thraka. And I still have a lot of vehicles I need to paint. My orcs are a lot of fun. I really like the army. I made the entire orc army for 40k with like bionic legs and stuff. These are just sample models, but you know.
Oh, these are the tracksuit ones, right?
Yeah, these are all the tracksuit ones. They have the ones that actually have legs with pants on them. You know, but it was just meant to be a fun army, and its whole shtick is lots of Def Dreads. I wanted to do a bunch of Killicans too, but you can't really do that. They occupy the same slot. So I wanted to do just a bunch of walkers, just a bunch of stompy orcs in battle suits.
Those models are so fun.
And then I have the Gorkanaut, Morkanaut, and then the big thing, the Stompa too. I was just gonna make, you know, the Orc Knight army kind of a thing. And it's not good to play that way. At the time, it was Speed Freaks, right? It was all vehicles that was the way to stomp it. And then they nerfed that. I wasn't going to play that anyway. But yeah, I think orcs are fun. I've always liked orcs in the GW world because they do crazy things and can kill themselves as easily as not. Their risk reward is exactly what I want. Big risk has a chance at big reward, but it's big random. It also has the chance of big bad. You know,
like
I like that.
The old school Skaven rules.
Oh, old school Skaven were very similar.
So much fun.
Yeah, Skaven were like the chaos version of orcs.
Yeah,
it's like, hey, check it out. Let's eat this crystal and see what it does. And it blows his head up and everything around him up, right? And I was like, okay, that's cool. I just didn't like painting rats.
Yeah, you're like, I have this gun that's really good, but if I roll a 6, it explodes and kills half my army. Like, just don't roll the 6.
Yeah.
And then you have 4 of them, and they all roll 6s, and you're like, all right, there goes half my army. Let's do this.
You're trying to find a good orc skin. If you want standard green, I like this one because it's easy. You basically do a zenithal. You prime black, zenithal white, then paint our purple transparent or dark purple in the shadows. So you'll see the purple shadows in there. Zoom in a little bit. Right? So you have like purple shadows. Then you do transparent orange over the top. So now you have this kind of peachy color because of the way the transparent orange lays over the white zenithal. But in the areas right as it goes into the purple, you'll get this kind of reddish, warm color that makes it feel like they would bleed blood if you cut them. Then you do the green transparent over the top of that very thin, and then just use bright yellow green to highlight it up. So believe it or not, it you know, it's 4 colors, but it's super simple. And it gives you good looking stuff. I mean, the purple and everything that you leave on there in the shadows gives it a good measure of depth on the skin. So it can work pretty well. Again, I never finished the army because I wasn't really playing them at the time. But I have the whole thing built. I think the Def Dreads are the closest to being done. We painted up like 8 Def Dreads? 6 Def Dreads? I think I took 6. I wound up having 6 Def Dreads. I don't remember. 2 units of 3? You haven't played in a D&D game with that guy since the 90s, but it was that guy in 40k that was the last straw for you to make you quit the game 20 years ago, Valandar. That happened to me with War Machine. War Machine, to me, and my first opinion of War Machine was that I love the game, I love the idea, I love the models, and I hated all the people that played it. And it was really sad.
Yeah, it was pretty
because
rough.
I was in Southern California, and all the stores that were doing War Machine were stores that were fed up with 40k, and they thought they'd found the Holy Grail, and everybody there immediately took on the mantle of we know better than you, right? And it just was feels bad, you know, because I had just come from working at Games Workshop, so I was not welcome. I was the big bad. I was like, I had nothing to do with your problems, you know. I want to paint Signar and play Signar. I had a Circle Army right when Hordes came out, and I was like, I want to paint this and play it. And you'd go play, and people were like abusing the rules. It felt like War Machine was populated initially where I was by all the people that got caught cheating at 40k, and kicked out of tournaments. And so they went and started playing something else because that game sucks. You know? I know that's not the case. That's not giving them a fair shake. There were probably some pretty good people out there, but it was tough. It was a tough play. A tough play. At a tournament in Oregon, a super competitive player went hard on his opponents, calling every little thing and generally being unpleasant. People quit after playing him. And when he was asked to be nice or not return, he threatened the store owner's life? What?
Yeesh.
Okay, that makes
brutal.
me feel bad for the person, for everybody involved. But for the person that goes that hard in the paint over a war game? Like, if I got one wish in the world, it's that one day you wake up and you like yourself, man. Like, there's some bigger problems there. You know? There is never a time where war games are that important. Ever. Period.
Yep.
It was during 3rd edition, 4th edition, right as the Blood Angels Army book came out, despite the book saying only use either the stopgap list in the rule book or the Army book, not both. He built his army using both, whatever he wanted, yeah. Combine all the good rules. Well, that's what we were talking about earlier. When the 4th edition transition was happening, all of those books were still good and could be used as soon as the Space Marine book came out. You could use them all. You could use all the rules. Well, you had to use the Force Org and elements from the supplement. You couldn't use any of the things out of the Space Marine book, but all the core rules in the Space Marine book counted. That was what I was talking about earlier when we were breaking the Dark Angels rules with Rend, right? Bad paint done worse. Tell you a 40K cheating story? I mean, where do you start?
There's a lot of them.
I think cheating starts at list building. Probably not in tournament play because I think your lists are checked in tournaments. But
There was a War Machine person back in the day who cheated a bunch, and they referred to the way they cheated is using the finger of God. Yeah. So what would happen is they'd have a model on the table,
mm-hmm.
and they would put their hand on the table. Let me zoom out so I can show this properly. They'd have a dude here, and they'd have their hand on the table, and then their finger would go boop, and just push it just a little bit to get it in range. So it was really subtle and kind of hard to see. But
War Machine is a game of inches.
How did less than that even?
Way a game of millimeters. Way more than 40K is.
That game
far.
is so precise. It's insane. Which is a thing that I like about it, because there's some fun crunch in my head of triangulating all of that. But it is it burns your brain out pretty hard. But yeah, funny thing. They coined a term for it, and people would do that. They just try and distract their opponent by asking a question, and then they move their models an inch.
Valendar. That's a shame, right? Because again, I think that a lot of problems in gaming, just like any kind of competition, is that the organizers are your first defense. And if the organizers let a list in like that they were then going to throw the guy out of the tournament for, that's all on them. You should have got the round win, right? By default. So, War Machine is the best war game played by all the people you don't want to play with. Yes. I mean, it was funny because in Arizona, so with War Machine, like I said, I was in Southern California in the early 2000s when it was in version 1.5 when Hordes came out. Really liked it, grew along with it, loved playing it, but played in my garage with friends because going to the stores was hell. These people were not the people you wanted to hang out with.
There are a lot of very competitive people.
Not the people I wanted to hang out with because they were competitive to the point of doing what he's talking about. They were moving front of base to back of base, right? Yeah. So you know how that goes, right? He's got the finger of God thing that he did, but let's say you can move your model X amount, right? So they'd measure 5 inches from the front of the base, and then they'd move it and move the 5 inches to the back of the base. Well, that's 5 inches plus, right? You go front of base, front of base. That's how you move a model. That's distance. But they would do this, and I'd call them on it, and they'd say, "Oh, you think you know the game better than I do, new guy?" And you couldn't call the store owner over because they're your best friend. They're these guys' best friend.
Well,
So we just didn't go play at stores.
I'll
They're
just
horrible.
Throw back my legs and pollute my
So-
britches with delight.
That kind of stuff irks me. That happened at the GW tournament I told you about in Nottingham when we got
Oh,
there.
yeah, you were saying that.
The Italian and Spanish teams were cheating like that. They were moving front of base to back of base and had Blood Angels, all bikers with power fists, gaming the system that way, which is fair. I was gaming assault cannons, so I didn't mind that. But I was like, hey, you got to move fair. You can't do that. And they'd be like, no habla. That was literally their get out of jail free passes. They said they didn't speak English, but they did. And they got booted. They got booted as GW employees from a GW sanctioned tournament amongst employees, and they got booted out, to give you an idea how bad that was. So there's just some people will go to any length to win. And I think that playing your best and doing your best to win is one thing, but obviously skewing the rules and cheating not going to cut it. But War Machine was like that for me. I didn't play it for a long time. When I moved here in 2014, I immediately started looking for game places and places to buy stuff and all that. And in 2000, met Jen in 2015. We bought this house here in Phoenix from out in Gilbert in 2017. So it must have been like 2016. I found a store. Or no, it was 2017, right after we moved. Right before we moved, I found a store out in Gilbert that I would drive to on Wednesdays for game night after we moved out here, long drive. And they had a War Machine Wednesday, and it was at a time where I was telling Stream, because we were already painting on Stream by this time, and so I was told Stream, hey, we're going to try Age of Sigmar and War Machine, and I'm going to do a slow grow league for both here locally, and I'm going to stick with and paint an army for whichever of these I like the most. And so I got Khador. Privateer Press sent me a huge Khador army, and it was, I had from second edition the Armored Core guys, or whatever they're called, right? And the new ones were just coming out, I think.
Armored Core.
Whatever it was.
I don't remember which one stuff that is, to be honest.
The big suits, armored suits.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yep.
And so I had some of those in Sorsha. I had Sorsha 1. And so that's what I was going to build. And so I went out and started playing a slow grow league with War Machine and had a lot of fun. And believe it or not, the people were super cool and inviting. Went and played Age of Sigmar and played Nurgle. And we painted up a bunch of Nurgle on stream. And in the Age of Sigmar, it was like win at all costs in a slow grow league, because it turned out there were only like 2 or 3 of us that were actual new players. Everybody else in like the 14 or 16 people that were there were people that had already been playing and who were just putting together new armies. They were using this as a way to build new armies, which is fine, right? But they were like literally in a 700-point list playing Khorne, like what you were playing against with Gabe, but with the blood points and bringing out Bloodthirsters in like a 750-point slow grow game. Yeah. Where I don't have anything in Nurgle. I got some very slow dudes, you know? The one that really ended it for me was the you're playing, the lizards.
Oh, Seraphon?
Seraphon. Yeah. The Seraphon that had the cheap Bastillodon with the gun that murdered everything. and the ability to teleport skinks all over the world. So he didn't really even have to play the game. He just had to run away from me and then build up enough points that in the last turn he teleported all his skinks on objectives and won. Because I couldn't, my Nurgle army was too slow to get back in the amount of turns we had left, so he just did all the math in his head. I just kept backing up and then teleported skinks after I moved up to try to chase him. So shame on me for not playing the points differently, but it was a tough one. And I was like, it just felt too gamey for me, so I was like, let's play War Machine. So I wound up playing War Machine.
Orc Pride, 76 months.
Holy cow.
I
think Orc Pride might be the oldest.
My goodness.
Orc, what's going on, man? Good to see you.
I am probably going to step out.
Yeah, it's time to quit.
Yeah, it's 5:30.
5:30.
It's pretty late. And I just got to a stopping point on these guys.
We've done a lot.
I think they're looking pretty
I've
cool.
done a lot of nothing over the last hour except flap my jaws.
These glazes of transparent red and orange and a little bit of brown in there to darken up that transparent red. Look real nice.
Nice. Yep.
A nice contrast in them.
Yeah, they look really good.
I might even do another pass with like just straight brown in the recesses.
I don't know that it needs it. Look good.
Well, I think for a tabletop army, I would like to put a little bit more contrast in them just to punch it a little bit more. We'll see what it looks like once I paint some of the other details too.
I was gonna say you still got a lot more on the model to do.
Yeah, exactly.
His account is old enough to drink in some places. Orc Pride, thank you, my friend. You show up just in the time for the end. I'm at the point where I really need to figure out the basing on him. I just put our basing material down initially, the Golden Earth, and I need to figure out other trinkets and stuff I can put on there. I've got some skulls, obviously, and I can probably come up with some tree bark to put down to look like slate. I feel like I need to build the base up a little bit on him, and I didn't want to think about it today. I need to dig up some stuff and put some junk down on the base, because other than that, I really just need to do like the gems. You know, I still need to paint all the blood gems and figure out if we're going to do the lightning on the axe, because I'm at a point where I could start putting that down and getting the physical stuff put together for that, and then that'll change the OSL. We need to do his eyes. Well, we got the
Halo. Are you
Halo.
actually going to do like physical lightning crackling off of it?
Oh yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, if I'm going to do it, I would have to do lightning, because I want to do like lightning arcing up to feathers.
Oh,
And then
that
down
would
to
be
like his
cool.
knee and back onto his chest, so it looks like that Thor lightning ball coming off the axe.
I thought you were just going to do it with paint. I didn't know you were going to do it with
I'll paint
like...
lightning on the axe too, but I want to do it with actual physical threads coming off of it, so that because I just love, you know, that Thor thing.
Yeah.
And I saw a guy, and I can't remember who it was. It might have been I'm not going to remember who it was. Very good painter, and he did Sebastian Carthalos, or whatever his name is, for Stormcast Eternal. He's the dark-skinned guy, huge gold, big hammer, strutting forward with intent, you know? And his hammer was just like crackling lightning in it. It came off, and one of the points went to the corner of his eye, and his eyes were glowing, so the lightning went off to the hammer that way. It just felt like Thor. It felt like that scene where he comes back, jumps off the ground, and it looks like the lightning is carrying him off the ground. Yeah. You know, you remember what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I think that's when he had the Groot axe by that point, right? Yeah, okay, it was, because when he fought Thanos and drove the axe into Thanos' chest at the end.
Well, I think that specific moment is from him fighting Thor in the arena in the third Thor. At which time he didn't have either of his.
No, the lightning is when he came back to Earth, and Cap and Black Panther and everybody were fighting Thanos' legions coming through Wakanda, and he shows up.
He does do that at that time as well.
And he jumps up, his eyes glow dark, and he jumps up with all the lightning. That was the point that it mattered, because the storm clouds came, and it freaked out all the aliens.
Yeah.
And he pounded them, yeah.
There's another moment where that happens in the
Bifrost axe.
Thor
Yeah,
movie.
exactly.
Storm something. I forget what it's called.
I don't remember. That's beyond my level of comics knowledge. Well, thanks everybody for hanging out, showing some support, talking some nerd stuff. Great gaming talk today. That's what we do.
Jen's got some links in chat. We got the store in there. If you guys want to pick up any of the products we've been using on stream, feel free to click on the link, go to the store, and put in an order.
And then join us on the Discord. The Discord is the place to be. Lots of this same kind of nerd conversation going on all day, every day. Thousands of amazing artists just like yourself over there. Great inspiration, cool stuff to look at, and a great place to show off your own work and get answers to any questions you might have as you go through your own hobby journey. So we'd love to see you over there. Join the Discord if you haven't already. Yep. Remember, we stream 5 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Like tomorrow coming up, we do noon to 2 p.m. Pacific. Yep. And then today, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we do 2 to 5. Or 5:30.
Yep.
Ish.
Yep. Sometimes.
So we'd love to see you back here. 5 chances to catch up with us and hang out. We'd love to see you as many times as you can make time for. Have a wonderful evening. Stick around. We're going to find somebody to raid, so show some love in the chat we wind up in, and we will catch you on the flip side mañana. I'm out.
Bye.
Say
See
bye,
you
baby
later.
Jay.